Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me is Andrew Meadows.
Get over here! Get over here!
And tonight we're talking Mortal Kombat.
Fatality.
We'll just do that throughout the episode. We'll just do some announcer voice.
Reptile.
Flawless victory.
Sub-Zero wins.
These are not spoilers for the movie, for the record. Yes, Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat!
They had to get that in there somewhere, too. Episode 169, the nicest of them all. We're talking about Mortal Kombat. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I can promise you that, because Mortal Kombat was jam-packed full of blood, gore, zaniness, wackiness, as is appropriate for a film based off the Mortal Kombat video game franchise. So I'm excited to get into that with you. But it has been a couple weeks since we recorded last. How you been doing? You know, everything A-okay on the home front there?
Everything's A-okay. Quick brief snippets. I got my first shot of the Moderna vaccination.
Oh, that's very, very exciting.
To do my part for the human race. It made me feel like shit for the first couple of days, but I also had corona, so I guess that sort of thing was to be expected. But after 2 days, I feel like a normal human being for the most part, besides allergies. I had to turn around and go to the doctors again, or not again, but I had to go to the doctors because of allergies and shit. But nonetheless, I am here. I'm alive. Work's been crazy. We're hitting. I would say not new records, but records that haven't been hit in quite some time at work, which is cool.
People coming out of their social shells, so to speak, ready to buy some cars, that sort of thing.
That sort of thing, yeah. Getting cars is difficult. The market's really wacky right now. But I think in the past 2 months we've sold a significant number of cars, so that's cool. Worry about. I
guess it's good, right?
That's it. Worry about the rest later, I guess.
A good problem to have, a problem nonetheless, but a good one.
Yeah. But yeah, everything's cool. Everything's cool, man.
Good. Well, I'm excited to share that as of this past Monday, we're recording on a Tuesday. As of this past Monday, aka yesterday, for those keeping track at home, I have taken my last law school class, which is very exciting.
Holy shit!
3 long years, but
done.
Not done. I have a couple exams, unfortunately, so still some work to be done. But I'm totally done with 7 of 13 credits this semester, or 14 credits, whatever I ended up taking. It's just really just a couple exams on the back end that I've got to worry about. But
that's awesome, dude.
Feels good. It's a good feeling. Obviously, it's bittersweet. Took a year and a half of it on Zoom, so certainly not what I signed up for. But, you made the best of it. At least I tried to make the best of it, and eventually arrive at the finish line. So yeah, I'll be graduating in just under a month's time. So I'm looking forward to that. Obviously, I'm looking forward to being done. Getting those exams off the calendar will be very exciting too. But hey, this is a bit of a milestone. I figured I'd celebrate a little bit. So we're celebrating with some beer and some Mortal Kombat and some good old friendship, which is a Mortal Kombat reference for those in the know. Friendship. So yeah, let's get into that celebration a little bit with a fun fact, a Mortal Kombat centric fun fact, if you please.
So, got a couple of fun facts. I have a barrage or a combo of
combo breaker. Wait, wrong franchise. Continue.
Wrong, that's it. Got a combo of fun facts because I couldn't remember how much we got into things before. So one of our main protagonists in this movie is actually a character that was not in the video game.
A brand new invention for the film. Cole Young.
Cole Young. Cole Young is not in the video games or any prior movies or comics or anything like that. Completely new character. Some of you might say, well, why would you do that? Well, according to, and I don't have the actual article in front of me, but I'm sure there's an article of it. When they were making the movie, they decided that they were going to have a loud, bombastic character that would occupy a lot of screen time in this particular movie. The first movie, I think they've since announced, 3 or 4 of them, which is another fun fact. But they didn't want to introduce too many characters on the front. So I think a lot of people's go-to was a character by the name of Johnny Blaze. No, not Johnny Blaze. Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage.
Johnny Blaze is a Ghost Rider.
That's right. Johnny Cage. Johnny Cage is the character that he was the big in the first film, and actually the first video game. Another fun fact: Johnny Cage was originally modeled after Jean-Claude Van Damme because they wanted to make a Jean-Claude Van Damme fighting video game, and it turned into Mortal Kombat.
Okay, and then he got turned into his own fighting game when they did Street Fighter the movie, the game.
Bingo. That's it.
Something in that makes sense. His likeness was included in that game, which was based off a movie, based off of a game. You get it. Anyway,
this is also the director's only movie, according to his IMDb page.
Directorial debut. I think he'd worked on commercials, maybe music videos in the past, but feature film debut. Yeah,
of
and a big
Simon
one.
McCoy.
Yep.
Also, screenplay by somebody that's going to be doing the 10 Rings,
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which a trailer for that is out in the wild for those who haven't had an opportunity to see it. We will not be talking about it on this episode. We're still playing a little bit of catch up with the news, as we'll get into shortly. But it feels more appropriate for our next project that we're going to be talking about, which we'll announce at the end of the episode. But
we also, compared to the 95 film, which featured predominantly all white people, this movie has accurate casting, which is pretty cool and refreshing. And I had one more fun fact. Mortal Kombat is one of the highest grossing franchises in history. It's worth $5 billion, which I thought was pretty interesting. I found that on my
this is based off the video game numbers, I presume. Surely the films aren't contributing a whole lot. It's all of it, but I have to imagine the video games are contributing the vast majority of that, because I don't think Annihilation did very well. I think that the 95 film might have done pretty well, especially for the time. But
and on a complete different side note, fun fact, you know what the highest grossing franchise is in history?
Just in general?
According to the wikis.
Harry Potter.
No. One more guess.
Putting me on the spot. Oh, this is so difficult. Biggest franchise. Is Marvel too generic? Is that too broad of a guess?
No, it's just not worth enough.
Okay. All right. Shit, I don't know. What is it? Tell me.
Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Duh.
Fucking Pokemon. Yep. Estimated total revenue USD is estimated at $100 billion.
I think the probably 10 or so Pokemon games on my shelf attest to that fact being true.
They have $3 million in jet aircraft sales. Fucking Pokemon jets.
What? Okay.
That's crazy.
Why not?
Anyways,
why not is what I say to that.
Wikipedia dives can always be a good source of fun facts in case
Great source of fun facts, clearly. Yeah.
Anyways, we can dive into other things if you like.
Well, we can do just that. Let's talk some news. So I originally had it divided to be just a little bit of news up front and then all trailers in a row. But I've inserted something at the tail end of our news section because it's a little bit more timely to talk about it on this episode than it would be to hold off and pause and talk about it in another episode. So we'll get to that, but we will start with just a few pieces of newsy news, and then we will get to the trailers that we promised on our last episode and didn't get a chance to talk about. Otherwise, we would have been there for entirely too long. So the first piece of news is good or bad, depending on your perspective on things. And actually, the first two pieces of news concern DC films, future DC films, or perhaps the lack some DC films that will be on their upcoming slate. So WB DC has announced that 2 of their previously announced projects are not going to be moving forward. They will not be making these films that they said that they were going to. And those 2 films in question are New Gods and The Trench, which New Gods was to be set to be made by Ava DuVernay, who did great work on Selma and that did not so great work on A Wrinkle in Time.
Oh God, not so great work. That's a good way to put it.
And it was kind of basically how to describe the New Gods, based off of I think a Jack Kirby like a Jack Kirby thing that he made. They're like these fictional this fictional alien race that are related to like Darkseid and Apocalypse and that sort of angle that we saw like a little taste of in Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I think they're more benevolent, and then there's just a few assholes in the bunch or something like that. I get some shades of Eternals in here, which maybe is partially a motivation for like, shit, Marvel's going to beat us to the punch. Why do we even need to do this? And also maybe they watched A Wrinkle in Time and thought, let's go a different direction, which is totally understandable. So I think it could have been a weird out there project if done well, but it's not happening. So don't have that to worry about. And then The Trench was the Aquaman spinoff about the little fucking monsters in the trench. And I think even from day one, everyone's just like, it's April Fool's Day. Is that what's happening? Or you guys are kidding with this shit, right? So anyway, it was supposed to be like a horror-esque project, but not happening as well. So I would say I'm not personally devastated by the news here. I'm going to guess you're in the same boat.
No skin off my sack.
No skin off my sack. Bad Australian accents ahead. Content warning for listeners. All right. Well, so that's that. That's what's going on one side of the DC front. And in terms of projects that we will be getting a sequel to Shazam called Shazam Fury of the Gods. We knew that Helen Mirren was to be playing a villain in it, and we've now learned that she will be joined by Lucy Liu as another villain. In fact, she will be playing Calypso, who will be the sister of Helen Mirren's character. And I think they're all supposed to be gods. So, some crazy powers and shenanigans. And that's what you got. You got Lucy Liu and you've got Helen Mirren. So what do you think about that?
I'll take it. I like Lucy Liu.
Yeah. It's good stuff. Feels like a good
Shazam.
move. Yeah, the first one was really fun. We talked about it.
I believe
with Dan.
I think it still might be my favorite DC movie.
I think you said as much. I think when we did talk about it, I think Wonder Woman maybe still edges it out by a hair for me in terms of the DCEU or whatever it's called these days. But Shazam is probably a close number 2 for me personally. And it was just well done. It was just its own thing. Just let people make good movies. You know what I mean? Sometimes you think it's going to work out, and then sometimes you get Wonder Woman 1984. So obviously, things happen is what I'll say. But I feel good about this. The cast is shaping out. It's got mythology, getting thrown into it. It already had mythology, I guess, but I don't know. That all sounds very cool. It's bringing back the same director as the first one. It feels like this one's going to be a winner, so I'm looking forward to it. And Variety opening line says Lucy Liu is officially a god, so that's some good journalism right there, is what I'd say about that. So I can't say anything. I can't say anything more than that. All right, last piece of news, not all news, but just news. I guess I'll say some good and bad news regarding the Castlevania Netflix series. The bad news is that Castlevania is going to end with its 4th season. It's going to have a 10-episode 4th season. It is going to premiere May 13th, so just a couple weeks away, a few weeks away until it's going to debut. So that's semi good news. Is hey, we get to see it soon. We get to see how it wraps up soon. No real surprise. Warren Ellis, as we'd previously discussed, is a predatory fucker, and so it's not really any surprise that Netflix might want to, move into a
Separate
different
themselves,
separate themselves, move in a different direction. He had already finished writing season 4, so they basically, I think, just animated it, and so it will be Warren Ellis's season 4 for good or ill. But he's in spite of his personal many personal shortcomings. I think we've greatly enjoyed those first 3 seasons of Castlevania as adaptations of the video game franchise. Video game franchise adaptation. It's a little connective thread here for you. I actually didn't even think about that when I put it in there, but it works out well. So it sucks, obviously, that this is where it's going to end, but out of necessity, I think it makes sense, and I feel like the whole circumstances around it have opened up some new opportunities. And so I think what the real good news is that Netflix is apparently not going to be done with the Castlevania universe. And their plans are to make a new series that's going to be set in the same universe as this show, but following a different set of characters, which for anyone familiar with the Castlevania franchise makes a ton of sense. It's about generations. It's about Dracula coming back, fighting a different, person of the Belmont clan. So we've been following Trevor the whole time. It's basically been following the Castlevania 3 storyline, and there's a couple other games that are kind of around that time. But Simon Belmont, Richter Belmont, Christopher Belmont, Leon Belmont, there's 100 fucking Belmonts they can center a series around. And so if their plan is to just, turn around and make a new series, obviously bring in a new creative team and set it around some different characters, like there's no reason you can't have some crossover. Like Dracula's going to be back in some fashion. Alucard is a mainstay. He'll be back in some fashion, I'm sure. And the vampires are generally ageless and timeless, so they can kind of come back whenever the fuck they want. So I think it all sounds pretty cool. You know what I mean? So let it end, and hopefully on its own terms. I mean, hopefully season 4 is kind of designed to be an end point of some sort.
Bingo. That's what I'm saying. I hope they just didn't drop it on them. I hope it was written to end. That will make me happy if it's written to be the end of Castlevania or this particular generation or whatever.
I could see it being conclusory in a sort of way, because
absolutely.
Season 1 was so short, it was basically set up, and then season 2 was like ending on like a big, like, okay, this feels like the end of a series with what they've accomplished. And then season 3 felt like it was more setup, like more extended setup, like putting things into place. And it feels like season 4 is going to have to pay off a lot of different things. So I feel like if season 4 does kind of pay off at least most of those things, then, it'll feel like a pretty satisfactory 4 seasons. So I'm looking forward to talking about it. Of course, I'm looking forward to talking about it after I see the damn thing. There you have it, Castlevania. And I want to point out, I'll talk about it a little bit more, but on a whim, I've owned the Castlevania Anniversary Collection for the Switch for months now. It went on sale a while back, and I just picked it up because it's like, oh, Castlevania's cool. I've never really played the early games other than the Super Nintendo one. And so on a whim, I just opened it up and started playing the first game, and then like two days later, this news broke. So I'm just like, I knew it. I knew something was coming. I willed it into existence, and so you're welcome. Is what I would say. All right, that brings us to the mini trailers that we have on tap to enjoy, to maybe shit on, depending on what it is. We'll see. Maybe there's no stinkers in the bunch. Maybe there are a few. We'll see. We start with another Guy Ritchie joint. I still haven't seen The Gentleman. I know you saw it at one point, maybe on the plane, something like that.
I saw it on a plane, yeah.
And I think you enjoyed it, if I recall correctly.
I did. I thought it was an enjoyable Guy Ritchie movie. It felt like of course, I know he did. It felt like an early Guy Ritchie movie in a way. Yeah,
he kind of had his own thing for a while, and then he fucked off and did King Arthur and Aladdin, and honestly, those weren't bad, really. I mean, even like Aladdin particularly, but like they weren't what you'd expect from Guy Ritchie. Right.
This felt like a return to the roots kind of Guy Ritchie movie, I thought.
Okay. And so he's teaming up now with Jason Statham for a little film called Wrath of Man, which is due in theaters on May 7th. So does this feel like quintessential Guy Ritchie? Does it feel,
No.
What do you think about this one?
So the thing I love most about Guy Ritchie movies is the way they're written. They're written real snappy, and the way the stories are put together is pretty cool too. And like when you have a typical Guy Ritchie movie, it's almost like Sherlock Holmes was like Guy Ritchie on a pedestal. you know, where the
right.
stories kind of unfold and everything else. I mean, Sherlock Holmes lent itself really well to his kind of sensibilities with filmmaking, I think. This I didn't. I mean, this might have that, but the witty banter between the characters didn't seem to be there in the trailer. It seemed to mostly hone in on Jason Statham kicking ass, that's cool too. I like seeing Jason Statham kick ass, but so we'll see. It could have the capacity to be a quintessential Guy Ritchie film, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's like an astute observation. Kick ass, definitely. But it looks more like a Jason Statham vehicle than it looks like a Guy Ritchie, movie.
I would
and
agree
so,
with that.
that may impact your enjoyment depending on, your perspective and what you kind of seek in a movie like this. But, it looks violent. It looks kind of, prototypical, I think, in terms of story structure. It looks, like a revenge flick of sorts. I think Guy Ritchie, brings a lot of style and panache to the films that he makes, even when they are kind of the off the wall ones like King Arthur and Aladdin and the Sherlock films that he worked on. So I feel like even if it's not necessarily that sort of Guy Ritchie thing that you saw early in his career and then more recently with The Gentleman, yeah, I mean, there's probably enough that he's bringing to the table to align his sensibilities with Jason Statham just Stathaming about that,
I think he
could make for a pretty
like
good
Guy
experience.
Ritchie movies, even if they're not like the old school Guy Ritchie stuff. I feel like he makes entertaining movies nonetheless. It really doesn't matter what he's touching. I feel like they're good movies. Or decent movies. I feel like they're entertaining. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think the most recent one I saw was Man from U.N.C.L.E., which fortunately I watched before all the Armie Hammer stuff came to light. So I didn't have to watch it with a new lens. But that was a super entertaining film. Just a testament to the fact that give Guy Ritchie whatever, he'll make it something watchable, if nothing else. And most of the time he'll make it something very enjoyable. And sometimes he'll make something that's just good, He's capable of that too. So May 7th, this will be heading to theaters. No word on VOD options or anything like that, but it seems like a general trend for a lot of these movies so far as even if they get the theatrical release up front, usually within a month or so, they'll get a VOD option available. So we'll see what happens, what MGM chooses to do with this. So that's number one. Number two is moving into a very different direction. Over on Disney Plus, we will be getting Star Wars: The Bad Batch on May 7th, the same date, I think, actually. So there's... May 4th. May 4th. We will be getting on May 4th. May the 4th be with you. A 70-minute premiere of Star Wars: The Bad Batch on that, which I don't know if that's just 3 episodes stitched together or something, but that's pretty intense. We got an official trailer for it. I know we've seen some footage in the past, but we definitely got a boatload of new footage in this one, and gives you a little bit more of the sense of the direction that they're going with the storyline for this. Are you all in on Star Wars: The Bad Batch?
Of course. How do you not get all in on Star Wars? I mean, period. Star Wars.
Yeah.
So this one's got a lot. It seems like we get a lot of Tarkin in the trailer. I really enjoy Tarkin as a character. I think he's really cool. We get some more of the Bad Batch characters, which they're cool. I mean, I don't have really any fault with them. I think they're interesting. I don't really, I don't know. Something new. It's something different. It's more. I guess it's more of the same, but it's different because we don't know a lot about the Bad Batch.
I mean, we've had exactly one arc to be introduced to these characters. So
that's right. So I hope they find some. Tell you what I hope for. I hope to find emotional grounding with each member of the Bad Batch. I hope that they offer something, which we have it with the guy with the is it Nines, the one that got captured and turned
Echo?
into a human computer.
I think it was Echo.
So I mean, you get a little bit of sentiment there with him, but the other guys we really don't know a whole lot about. So hopefully we really dig in, and I'm excited for the animation. I think the animation's going to make a big step up this time around. So
yeah, and I think you even saw the beginning of that with that final season of the Clone Wars, where it's clear the technology has advanced a lot, and I'm guessing this is probably a 10, 13 episode season, something like that. I can't imagine it's going to be terribly long, especially if there's a 70-minute premiere. I can't imagine them doing full Clone Wars-esque seasons, especially because it's coming straight to Disney+. It's not a Cartoon Network show or anything like that designed for syndication.
Not to cut you off, but I also hope for serialized episodes. I really like when Clone Wars leans into the serialized arcs. I think
like that a lot. Yeah. I think even if it's 3 separate arcs, if they did it exactly the way they did the Clone Wars that final season, where you have 3 distinct arcs, you obviously had continuity in terms of characters, but the storylines themselves were kind of self-contained for each little story that they were telling. Yeah, I think I agree. I mean, I felt like that structure, that when they did that in Clone Wars, it was at its best. I think Rebels in general was, having not watched it in its entirety, I feel like generally serialized with each episode. I mean, each episode kind of was its own little plot deal, but at least the characters and like the relationships had continuity.
They had designated arcs in that too.
Right.
Episode sequels and that sort of thing. So.
Right. So, yeah. I think, yeah, I agree. I would agree with that. Hopefully that's what they do.
You haven't finished Rebels yet?
No, I'm in season 2. I was on the train for a while, and then whatever reason, just
you got derailed.
I got derailed. I fell off the wagon a little bit, so it's on my list of things to swing back around to. So if the Bad Batch is what pushes me, then so be it. Because I'm definitely very excited to check this out. So it looks like a ton of fun. Got some returning faces. It's like where we see Captain Rex at one point. It looks like in armor. Saw Gerrera at the end. Fennec Shand, Ming-Na Wen's character from Mando. So it's going to be good shit.
Looks like you got some Padme in there, right?
I don't remember seeing Padme, but I think you would have to have flashbacks for that to work, but maybe. Because I feel like this is post Revenge of the Sith. I could be wrong. Post Order 66, but
right. Okay.
I don't know. We'll have to watch it and find out. Maybe Padme's still alive, and then they're announcing that in the Bad Batch. Probably not, but we'll see. We will check it out. It's definitely something that
wildly wrong.
We will find out. We will find out before long. This is debuting in a week? Literally a week from when we're recording.
Gosh.
It's right around the fucking corner. That's the beauty of these things. We're so behind on the news, and obviously we did take that 2-week break between recording, which for the record was so I could finish those credits that for law school. Basically, I had I had assignments due in 4 straight days. It was not. I mean, it was it was the worst stretch I had this semester.
Message thing. We got the Rebel Alliance going.
Yeah.
Colton's off the grid for 3 or 4 days and then responds to 9 messages at once.
Yeah, that's pretty much how. I was knee deep in shit. So anyway, once I got out of that, I was just like, I don't have fucking time to record. I was just like, I got so much shit going on. So anyway, I'm through the muck. I'm out on the other side, and life is better for it. But yeah. Oh, what I was gonna say, I derailed myself there. This is a trailer that came out close to a month ago, a little under a month ago.
So obviously, I think I saw this.
Yeah. Probably when you watched it the first time, you're like, oh fuck, that's a month away. But when you rewatch it now, you're like, oh shit, that's a week away. Hell yeah. So look at the bright side on these things. So going even more in that direction with our next trailer is it's for a Netflix series called Shadow and Bone, and this actually came out the same day as the Bad Batch trailer, but it was released on April 23rd, which is to say that we're going to talk about a trailer for a show that is out on Netflix right now. And the reason I did this, and the reason I bring it up, is because this is something that we talked about on our Looking Ahead to 2021 episode. At the time, we really only had like a date announcement and just kind of like a wispy ghost-looking thing, and we didn't really know what the hell was going on. But the plot description seemed to intrigue us, and so now we have kind of the full trailer and pretty decent reviews for this thing from what I can gather. And so I'm curious what your take is on Shadow and Bone, knowing what you know from watching this trailer, and knowing that it is out to watch right this second if you so desired. Is there any appeal there?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a little bit of a mix between it looks a little bit like what's the HBO show I got in?
His Dark Materials.
Yeah, looks a little bit like his Dark Materials. I like that actor. Who's the actor that has the special powers too?
I feel like the only one I remember is Ben Barnes from it. I don't know if that's who you're
that's
talking
it.
about.
It's Ben Barnes. Yep. I think he's cool. I don't know. It looks like teenage magic shit, but it might be all right. It's about the way I feel about it. You got a teenage girl who has special powers, who has this like daunting task to save the world. And then you have everybody trying to corrupt her or whatever. You know, it just seems like the same story that's been told a million times, but it might be all right. It might be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think ordinarily this is something that I probably would have just not really paid a whole lot of attention to. You know, just it's based off of like a young adult series, book series, and, you know, I don't know if this is really going to be for me. But I will say, and some of it is influenced by some of the reviews I've seen, people saying, you know, this is honestly kind of the best Netflix series I've seen since The Witcher, which,
wow,
you know, I've made the point, I think, to Anna quite recently in looking at Netflix.
Kind of looks like The Witcher a little bit.
A little bit. It definitely gets some shades there. Obviously, again, more of a young adult take versus a very adult take that you get in The Witcher. But I made the point to Anna of, you know, I feel like for a while there, Netflix was really, you know, obviously they had their HBO and stuff, but Netflix was really the forefront of the streaming service. And I felt like really out the gate, they really had a lot of great television shows. But I feel like in the past couple of years, Netflix is really just volume based, you know what I mean? And so it's really just like, there's really not that many shows on there that are that good. You know, like it's just a lot of fucking shit and you got to wade through the shit to find everything. So a lot of times when they put out a trailer for something, I'm just like, I'm expecting this to be bad. And maybe there's another Netflix show we're going to talk about on this episode where I'm like, yeah, see, this is my point, is that this is something that they chucked a lot of fucking money at, but it looks not good, I'll say. And so this one kind of surprises me because I do think that, you know, the production values are there. They clearly spent some money. And I think it looks pretty entertaining overall. You know, it feels like, okay, maybe this is something that, you know,
it all falls to the
people
like
who makes it. Maybe you know,
the people that make it, the pacing of the show, and when you're, I mean, I don't want to sound like. For me, the things that make this sort of stuff interesting is the systems in the world that they're in. Right. So like if the world's interesting and the magic systems are interesting and like the hux of the show is cool and interesting and gripping, then I'll probably be all in. But that's just to say that if the show's interesting, I'll be all in. So it's
yeah.
A lot of words to say, if it's a good show, I'm in.
Yeah. But, fair enough. But it's still it's a truthism, I suppose, or whatever. But you know, it makes sense. You know,
like what's that black shit with the monsters in it? What's making that black shit with the monsters in it? Like if it, like I said, if it's interesting and if it piques my interest, I'll be interested. I don't know what I'm saying, but
we're doing okay. We're doing just fine here.
Anyways,
it's out on Netflix. It's only 8 episodes, which I think is good.
I like that. I like that a lot.
You know, and apparently it's not only. My microphone just fell away from my face. I don't know what to take about that. But it's actually apparently based off of not only like a book series, like a trilogy of books, but it's apparently also based off of a like companion duology that was released in the same universe. So it's kind of pulling different elements from a few different books and, you know, kind of weaving a new adaptation of that, which I think is kind of cool, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, Shadow and Bone. If anything that we've just discussed sounds intriguing, if you want to go ahead and watch the official trailer, you can just go ahead and watch it right now. You can pause this podcast and watch all 8 episodes, and then come back and then listen to us talk about another trailer, a trailer for The Mitchells versus the Machines, which got a trailer about a year ago. At that point, it was called Connected. Shit. I'm not sure if you happen to catch that. This is a Netflix acquisition of a film that was set to be released last year, before, you know, the world came to a brief and sudden pause for a very long time that we're really still in. So yeah, I don't know that we actually ever talked about it. I think I might have at one point had it up on the news thing, and I was like, we got fucking 19 things to talk about on this episode. I'll scrap it. We'll get around to it. There'll be a new trailer closer to when the movie comes out. And then obviously shit went sideways. So anyway, we circle back around. It's got a new name. It's from the guys that worked on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. It's got a unique animation style, and it's called The Mitchells versus the Machines. And I'm curious what you think about it. This trailer.
So I just gave it a quick Googs, and it stars Eric Andre, and Danny McBride. So I will just say, based on those two names alone, I am 120% in. But I have to say, though, after the trailer, I never saw the trailer, didn't know anything about this until you dropped it in the thing. I am 110% on this. You got the creators of what? Lego Story or Lego
Movie, Spider-Verse, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs,
Yeah, you got just a force behind it. The trailer looks the whole Furby sequence in the trailer made me laugh my ass off.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
It looks like it has the capacity to be wildly entertaining and touching, and it just looks like a movie that you would expect to not see on Netflix. It looks like it looks like a fucking movie.
Yeah.
Not to discredit Netflix by saying your movies aren't movies, because you have some really good movies, but this is a movie. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
So yeah, I watched the trailer, and I am 120% down on this. I think out of everything we're talking about today, I think this is the one I'm probably most excited about.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm going to do a quick scan. You say movies, or are you talking about anything in general that we've talked about?
Just out of everything that we are
covering.
Now, there's another one in here that I'm pretty excited to talk about too.
Okay.
But out of
certainly compared to the next one.
Yeah, I'm real excited about this movie. I will just say that I'm real excited about it.
Very well
made trailer.
I would concur. It looks great. That animation looks awesome. It's a Sony film. It was made by Sony Pictures Animation, who did work on Spider-Verse, which I think there are some animation sensibilities that are similar, but not. It's not exactly the thing. Though I'd guess probably the technology is something that translated over. Do you want to take a stab at how much Netflix spent to get the release rights for this thing?
How much did they spend on the...
How many millions of dollars did they spend to get the worldwide distribution rights to this film?
I will say $60 million.
All right. We're going to have to go up a little bit. If you just double that and subtract $10 million, you'll land at $110 million, which is Netflix's price for it. Or I guess Sony's price for it that Netflix was willing to pay, more accurately. So pretty penny
Netflix
on this one.
says to Sony that I will spend $110 million on this movie.
Yep.
I want it.
We want to pay for 3 times the budget for this thing, or whatever it is, $50 to $100 million budget. So they basically paid for the movie to be made, I guess, at that point. So, hey, based on the quality of it, maybe that's not such a bad move for Netflix. I do agree in the sense that, this doesn't really feel like a Netflix movie. It's too good. It looks too good to be on Netflix, and in a weird sort of way. But we will be able to find out. Go ahead.
I just want to know what how do they monetize? I can very easily picture the monetization of a Sony, right? Sony Pictures puts out a movie, they put it out here. People go and watch it. They get the box office money, then they get the distribution money because they put it on Blu-ray, and then Amazon pays to distribute it or whatever, and they get that money. I can see how that makes money. How is Netflix making money? Just subscription?
Yeah, new users and
$7 they're $12 a month. Their rates are always going up.
It keeps going. It goes up every few months. So it's before you know it, it's going to be fucking cable box price. So, it's got to be subscrition based, and and latching on new users.
Say if I don't have new content, if people don't have new content for Netflix, they cancel their subscription. So we need to keep new content coming. At what point do you have diminishing returns on how much you're spending for content versus keeping subscribers? Because fuck,
I don't know. I agree.
$500 million for I still can't get around $500 million for fucking Ryan Johnson shit.
Oh yeah, the Knives Out stuff. I thought you were talking about the Lord of the Rings thing. So I was like,
No.
that was Amazon. That was I mean, Amazon is infinite capital, so it really doesn't fucking matter what they do over there. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Yeah, spending half a bill on fucking 2 movies is just some insane shit. And a tenth of $1 billion here is also pretty wild.
Yeah,
So.
it is.
Anyway, this film will come out April 30th, which means that it's just a few days away. Just
And it's already got a
drops right around the
96%
time.
on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way.
Yep. I was gonna just add that as a little caveat. You'll be able to watch it shortly after this episode drops, or roughly around the time that it drops, and you might want to tune in because early buzz is very positive. So it seems to be as good as it looks, which is good to know. Good to know. Now, the real question that we now turn to with our next trailer about Jupiter's Legacy, a series coming to Netflix on May 7th, is this going to be as bad as this film, or as this trailer indicated? What do you think?
This looks like shit. So I'm going to ask a question. Are the old people in this movie, is it like a weird... Like, are they de-aged or aged up? Is it like a Prometheus kind of situation with the fucking aged people? Because they didn't look like real people. I'll say that first. Do you know what I mean? Or am I just out of my own limb here?
I mean, I guess what I'll say, and I don't know if it's necessarily agreeing with kind of what you're suggesting, but they just like look like old people with a wig and a beard chucked on. Like it's not even Guy Pearce level where
weird.
where they threw some wrinkles on them and called it a day. It's just like they don't, like, they're superheroes, so they don't age, but their hair grows white and now they're wearing it long. Like, that really seems to be all that I'm getting from, like, the aging is it's I don't know.
It looks weird.
It looks weird, and it looks bad. It looks cheap and fake, is what it looks like to me.
Yes, it does.
It looks like that fucking first screen test we got of Henry Cavill as Geralt from The Witcher, where it was just like an awful wig that they chucked him in and some weird studio backlot that they filmed him on. It feels like that, but apparently for an entire series.
And
it's a choice.
I feel like I got some CW-isms in watching the trailer. I had a vein throbbing in my forehead while I watched the trailer. I was like, God damn it, they're making a CW fucking superhero movie show shit. That's what they're making. Whoa, my veins throbbing in my head. It looks really bad, dude. Looks really, really bad. I'm glad. I thought that maybe I was jaded. Maybe I just feel like, maybe I've had too many superhero things and maybe I'm just looking at this through the wrong lens. But to hear you say it looks like shit makes me feel a lot better. It's like, yeah, this looks like shit, right? And the answer is it definitely looks like shit.
Yeah,
So
I don't know what it is about this. Like, it's clear that they spent money on it, but it still looks cheap in many ways.
It's the design of the costumes. It's the fucking the hair and makeup.
It's like the CW with like a little bit more of a budget, but otherwise the exact same sensibilities.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, and nothing about it looks intriguing.
It looks wildly it doesn't look interesting at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I mean, really, it doesn't look compelling in any way. The cast looks not inspiring. I mean, I don't know. Like, I get it, not every show can have some premiere cast or anything like that.
It doesn't need it.
But
it doesn't need a premiere cast to make
it. It to me feels like they got a handful of C-list actors for this and called it a day. And yeah, I don't know. This is the thing where I'm like, oh, Netflix really they just chuck money at every fucking thing that they can get their hands on. Because they need volume. They need to fill. They need new subscriptions. Someone's Josh Duhamel, fan account number 1 on Twitter is like, fucking living for this shit. You know what I mean?
Finally, yes.
So, and maybe they were refraining from Netflix, for a reason. So now they're the new subscriber that Netflix is targeting with this something. Or people that love them. I mean, Mark Millar Mark Miller is just kind of he's just kind of an edgy comic book writer, and like in like the worst sort of way, where like he occasionally will put out some good stuff. But I feel like a lot of the adaptations of his stuff have been better because they've gotten rid of most of the dumb shit that he pulls. So Kingsman, Civil War, like Marvel Civil War adaptation was like very different than the comic book Civil War, which was infinitely worse. Stuff like that, Kick-Ass, another one. They toned down a lot of the real edgy edgelord shit, and they were better for it. And this to me feels like it's just that sort of crap, and there's just really nothing in this that I can really latch onto and think, that is the one thing that really gives me confidence in this project. There's not one thing in this that does that. It's just bad across the board, and I'm expecting bad.
And the whole whiny thing, like you'll never be able to be the pinnacle, or what did she say? Like you'll never be able to be like the example, and
you'll never be able to be Jupiter's legacy.
God damn it, man! Who wrote this?
Mark Miller.
And then you look at the comic books don't look bad, right? I mean, but then you look at the pictures of the
fucking costumes are just so
Jupiter's Legacy in Google Images, and the pictures from the pictures for the fucking
they look fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, they do.
And like, it's fine in a certain way if that's intended to be the point, you know what I mean? Like, like it's kind of funny that like in The Boys, Homelander is like always fucking in Homelander costume, and it's funny seeing him out of context, just always in that costume. Here they just look fucking ridiculous. I mean, that's just I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say. Looks real bad. Anyway, I had to throw one stinker in the bunch, just to have something to shit on. Last trailer for a Taylor Sheridan directed film starring Angelina Jolie called Those Who Wish Me Dead, coming to theaters and HBO Max on May 14th. Surely the mention of the man himself, Taylor Sheridan, creates a little expectation here. It seems promising. Would you say?
Yeah. So this is the second movie that I'm excited to talk about. I like Taylor Sheridan. He puts out good stuff. Never saw Yellowstone. I've heard good things about Yellowstone. I thought because I had Paramount Plus, I could watch it. That does not seem to be the case. I think it's
really that's really dumb.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know what kind of like. If I look it up on my Apple TV, it says that I need to watch it on Peacock, but I can't watch it on.
Oh, fuck that shit, man!
Paramount
fucking
Plus,
Peacock.
like it's a weird fucking thing.
That must be some weird thing where they sold the rights off or something like that. So I don't know. That's weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. I was really disappointed because I found out I was playing for Paramount Plus. Found something else to watch in Paramount Plus, and we'll talk about it. But
okay.
But anyways, yeah. So I think the coolest thing about Sheridan is his like the way he films the bleakness and like the fierceness of nature, like it's when he like it's like he's got a knack for just sweeping landscaping shots that just make you feel small, and they make you feel, I don't know, man. He just captures things on screen that I don't think a lot of people capture. He writes really bleak shit, and I kind of like that. I think he's an excellent writer. I just really like his stuff, and anytime his name's attached to something, I like I said, Yellowstone being the only caveat here. I really want to watch it. It's for some reason it's hard to obtain without spending a bunch of money to watch it.
Yeah.
And anyways, this is no exception. This is starring, Angelina Jolie?
Angelina Jolie, a good cast, I think, aside from her as well. John Bernthal, I think he's a cop.
Yeah, he's in it. Yeah,
Nicholas Hoult, Littlefinger's in it.
Yep.
I'm in this movie. What accent will I take for this movie? We'll find out. So yeah, Tyler Perry. I think
it looks it looks a little bit more on the nose than say something like a Wind River.
Sure.
And it looks like, I don't want to say less intense than something like Sicario, because Sicario's like super, super intense, but this has like intense things in it. So this is it looks kind of like a melding between like something like a Wind River, because it's set in, I don't know where it's set, but set in some sort of forest or something in California or Utah or whatever. I don't know, but, yeah, I don't know. I think it's ripe with opportunity to really showcase his abilities as a director. So I'm real excited about it.
Yeah, and it's been exciting to see kind of the track that he's been on. Really even since the early days of this podcast when we covered Wind River and with, I think, a single digits episode, you know what I mean? That was very early on, post Sicario and post Hell or High Water. Maybe that was even his directorial debut. But obviously now going on to do Yellowstone, which neither of us have seen. We can't really speak to that, but going from writing a few films to writing and directing a film to, basically writing and developing this whole TV show. It's been really awesome to see, I think, overall, because all those films that we've seen had a big impact on us. And now this is his next kind of directorial effort. And it feels like his shit, it feels like he's just flexing his chops, flexing his muscles again at this point. I fully agree with kind of the sentiment. Like, there's something about Taylor Sheridan stuff where the environment, the landscape, the setting becomes such a huge integral part of the film. And clearly here, it's a forest, and forest fires and stuff like that is going to be a huge critical component of this film. But that's awesome. I love the way that, that gets interspersed with the plot elements, which always seem to be violent and a little bleak, as you mentioned. I don't know. It's just cool. I just really like the vibe that he always brings to the table, and it feels like we're getting that here. With a really great cast. Angelina Jolie doesn't act all that often these days, but it kind of feels like when she comes out of hiding that it's usually for something that intrigues her enough to take a break from the 19 kids that she has. So I think
one of the coolest things too about Taylor Sheridan, and I think you said it before, he was making a series of things that were supposed to be like tell a particular kind of story about a region or whatever, but it just seems like they just seem like American movies, as without sounding like, because I don't want to. It's not supposed to sound patriotic or anything else. It's just what it is to like live in the areas that he shoots these movies. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really cool. Like Wind River was set in Dakota or something, South Dakota, North Dakota, whatever.
I think that sounds right. Yeah.
Sicario was in the desert. And he just really captures North America, and I think it's he's definitely one of my favorite, and he feels like almost like a Alex Garland, where I feel like I don't get enough things from him. So I'm definitely 110% on this.
Well, whenever you get the Peacock or whatever shit sorted out, you always have the benefit of 2 or 3 seasons of television to go back to. 3 seasons, it looks like.
And
so
Sarah's dad speaks super highly of the show. He watched all of it.
Yeah,
he's like, listen, I just dropped $60 to watch all of it. It's so good.
Well,
I got to get in on that.
Yeah. That's a pretty penny, but maybe it's worth it. I don't know. But anyway, Those Who Wish Me Dead will be in theaters and HBO Max again on May 14th. So this one is another one that, only a few weeks to wait on, and that's awesome. So that's where I planned to end the news for this episode, but a little thing happened this past Sunday called the Oscars. And while I intended to kind of hold off on talking about them until probably the next episode when we hopefully have the chance to kind of catch up on any other news that hasn't made the drawing board yet. The Oscars were kind of crazy this year, and I kind of felt like, you know, it was probably good to be timely about it, talk about the winners, the surprises of the evening, and really just the production of it. I'm going to take a wild guess and say, Andrew, that you did not watch the Oscars as it aired this year. Is that fair to say?
I think I was watching The Voice.
Right. So Anna and I watched it. We watched some of the pre-show, you know, getting some looks at everyone on the red carpet, which was kind of in a reduced capacity this year. They did the fucking Oscars at a train station. They kind of converted it. Usually they do it at like a theater, you know, and here, you know, there was a lot more limited attendees, distanced, and it was a very weird, unique vibe. And the whole thing was shot by Steven Soderbergh. Like, basically,
oh man,
they treated the Oscars this year as like making a movie, you know, in its own sort of way, which was really cool for about 30 minutes. You know. It was really cool, you know, and, you know, because it was small and intimate, you know, the way they shot it at 24 frames using like filmic cameras and like a scope, you know, anamorphic scope aspect ratio. And I thought they were going to drop it at a certain point, but they stuck to their guns and did it the whole fucking time, which I laud them for that. I think ultimately it was a bit of a failure. And I think the biggest complaint that Anna and I had, and we saw echoed online, is basically, you know, typically when you're watching any awards ceremony, when they interview, or, you know, when they like, here are the nominees for, you know, best costume design, you know, they show you a clip from the movie,
yeah, so
you can see what the costume design looks like in the fucking movie. And they only did that for very specific categories. Like, you got like a little snippet of best actor, best, you know, actress, best picture, I think had some clips. But for like those technical awards, for like costume design, for visual effects and stuff like that, what they did, instead of showing you like clippets to showcase that particular aspect of the movie, is they went to the table where the nominees were sitting and were like, here's a nice thing that we're going to say about this person, or here's a fun fact about this person, which was kind of nice, but like, you could also have done that with an overlay of the costume design from that movie.
What they actually fucking did, right.
And so it was just really frustrating. And like, you know, I've seen most of these movies and I get it, but like, you know, I still want to appreciate that and have like some sort of like, oh yeah, I forgot about that little bit. Yeah, this should really win. You know, this should really win best score because I'm listening to a particular piece from it and I'm thinking, oh yeah, that is great. You know, so that whole aspect of it was really, really poorly done. And so I expect that they will not adhere to this format once theoretically next year they can kind of move it to a more typical default kind of way of doing it. The other thing that they did in a very unconventional manner was that they did not announce Best Picture last. What they did was they announced Best Picture third to last, followed it by Actress in a Leading Role, and then ended the show with Actor in a Leading Role. So we'll start there because everyone and their mother expected Actor in a Leading Role to be won by a specific person. And clearly, so did the folks that were producing the Oscars, Steven Soderbergh, whoever's responsible, were clearly banking on Chadwick Boseman taking home the Oscar, and you know, and admittedly for good reason. You know, it's kind of it's a great performance. It's the last opportunity to you know, to award Chadwick for his stellar career, and yeah, things didn't exactly go according to plan. So Anthony Hopkins actually ended up winning this Oscar, Actor in a Leading Role, for his performance in The Father. And the way that the Oscars ended was just so fucking bizarre. And you know, if you recall a few years ago, there was some shenanigans where Moonlight and La La Land got mixed up for the Best Picture, and that was a whole shit show. I think this kind of rivals that, honestly, in the sense that they moved around the presentation of the categories because they really thought they were going to end with giving this award to Chadwick. And I think that if it had worked out that way, it could have been fine. But they clearly made some assumptions that they should not have made.
Who decides the winner?
The Academy. They you know, the Academy. They vote for the winners, and basically, the team that's responsible for putting the show on, they don't no one knows who the winners are. They cast the votes, they put in these sealed envelopes. They don't know who's going to win these things, so it's a little bit kind of shaky, and obviously it's risky in some ways. Now, like something like it's kind of weird because Riz Ahmed presented an award for best sound, and Sound of Metal was nominated. Now, it ultimately did end up winning, but it just, was one of those things where, like, this is kind of risky. Like, this is really fucking awkward if he's announcing these nominees and, like, shit, my movie didn't win. This fucking sucks, but he has to announce that. Like, and it kind of had that sort of energy here. So they brought out Joaquin Phoenix, who had won the Best Actor award last year. A lot of times they'll do that, although they usually do it the opposite way, where the previous Best Actor announces the Best Actress, etc. And Joaquin Phoenix, Jaquan, as you know him, is is just an awkward motherfucker. He's just I don't even know anything about acting. That's his whole vibe. That's his thing. That's what he does. And so he was doing that, and he's just like, it's just I don't really know what to say about acting. When I'm presenting this award, and so he announces Anthony Hopkins as the winner. And then Anthony Hopkins, who is fucking like 83 years old, lives in Wales. They, the people from other countries weren't going to fly over this because there's a fucking global pandemic happening. Anthony Hopkins is not anywhere to be found in the audience. He's not they didn't allow people to zoom in for some fucking reason unless they went to a specific stage location, like with other nominees. And so Anthony Hopkins is just MIA, you know what I mean? He's just not there. He's got better shit to do. He's fucking sleeping. It's 4 a.m. in Wales. And so Joaquin is just like, the Academy accepts this award on Anthony Hopkins' behalf. Good night, everyone. And everyone was just like, what just happened? What just happened? It was so bizarre. And I think it was made even worse by the fact that they did like this 15-minute weird-ass trivia segment where they had Lil Rel go on in the audience and just be like, I'm going to play some music, and I went, you need to predict, was this nominated for an Oscar? Did it win an Oscar? Was it not even nominated? And I spent like 15 minutes on this fucking segment when, this was blocked from 8 to 11. It was like 10:50 at that time. We're like, we don't have time for this shit, dude. We don't have time for this. Like, whoever is like making this thing, like, should have realized we should cut this segment because it's just not going to play. Glenn Close saved it. She did a little dance number, which was pretty good. But otherwise it was a train wreck. But in terms of everyone else kind of taking home awards, I think, personally speaking, I wasn't really displeased with anything. There wasn't a Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Editing. There wasn't a Green Book winning Best Picture. There wasn't anything kind of crazy like that. A few surprises, to be sure. But all in all, I can't really be too upset with kind of the ultimate winners of the night. And it really, the story wasn't about the winners of the night. Ultimately, it was really about the weird ass thing that they did and why they did it and the backfiring that kind of resulted from it. So that's the story of the production. Let's talk about the winners briefly since we've been going for a while, and then we'll get into some Mortal Kombat. So you heard about actor in a leading role. For what it's worth, for those who want to stay tuned for later in the episode, I did watch The Father, and I will talk about Anthony Hopkins' performance in that at the end of the episode or towards the end of the episode. But he beat out Riz Ahmed, Chadwick Boseman, Gary Oldman, and Stephen Yeun. That was a stacked fucking category. Really tough category. I think anyone could have conceivably won that award. Actor in supporting role went to Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Chairman Fred Hampton. Well deserved, even though he wasn't in a supporting role in that movie. That was absolutely a lead role. Just a weird nominating shenanigan, but beating out Sacha Baron Cohen from Trial, Leslie Odom Jr. from One Night in Miami, Paul Racy, Sound of Metal, and Lakeith, also from Judas. Frances McDormand won for Nomadland for the actress in a leading role. That one was
makes me happy.
That was another tough category for me. Not like one massive standout performance, but a bunch of good ones, and so it's just kind of like, it's tough. Beat out Viola Davis for Ma Rainey, Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. Yoo Jung-yoon won for actress in supporting role. She was the grandmother in Minari, and she was brilliant in that, so it's really nice to see her recognized for that. And she delivered a wonderful Oscar speech if you want to look it up on the YouTubes. Your movie of the year, Soul, won Best Animated Feature Film.
Hey!
No real surprise there, but well-deserved nonetheless. Eric Messerschmidt won Best Cinematography for his work on Mank over on Netflix, which you should check out sometime. Ann Roth won for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom for the Costume Design Award. Chloe Zhao won Best Director for Nomadland, making her the second woman director to win an Oscar, period, following the likes of Catherine Bigelow for her work on The Hurt Locker, which once upon a time you were going to watch soon. I don't know if you did get around to that or not, but...
I watched Hurt Locker.
Yeah, so anyway, that was another Oscar award-winning female director, and so Chloe Zhao joins Catherine Bigelow's ranks. Sound of Metal won film editing. Another Round, which is on Hulu right now for anyone curious, won Best International Feature Film. It's got Mads Mikkelsen in it, who we love and adore.
What is this? What? One more time. Repeat it one more time.
It's a film called Another Round, which is currently streaming on Hulu, starring Mads Mikkelsen. It's a Danish film. It's like a dramedy film where, he's in a bit of a rut in his life, and he decides that basically his friends tell him about this theory where having a blood alcohol content of 0.05 at all times makes you more creative, more relaxed. And so he decides to test out that theory with the group of friends, and he's a school teacher. So it's gotten rave reviews. So that won Best International Feature Film. Ma Rainey won for makeup and hairstyling. Soul also won for Best Original Score, giving Nine Inch Nails their second Oscar Gold, which is great, and Jean-Baptiste his first, which is awesome. Tenet wasn't nominated in that category, and Nomadland wasn't nominated in that category. I thought that was a little fucking bizarre, but Soul was still a great score, so deserved win. Mank won production design. Sound of Metal won sound, as I said. Tenet did win visual effects, best visual effects. And Writing Awards, Promising Young Woman won the Best Original Screenplay Award. The Father won the Best Adapted Screenplay Award. And the final one, Nomadland, won Best Picture of the year. So I think a lot of people expected it, myself included. And, I don't know if it's my number one, but I think it might have been yours. So I'm sure you're not displeased with that end result. So yeah, a lot of films that won a couple different awards. Nothing really. I think Nomadland won the most of any film with 3, so it was pretty evenly split across the board in terms of kind of sharing the wealth. But yeah, that's the Oscars. Those are the winners. Like I said, you probably didn't hear anything in there that really blew you away, I would have to guess. Probably a few that you agreed with. So yeah, it was an interesting experience. I'm glad I watched it to be part of the conversation and to witness things, of course. But I hope that they revert to a traditional format next year and correct some of the errors that they made this year. And yeah, so that's where we end the news on this episode. Hitting on some timely things, talking about some Oscars and stuff. So we're going to move into a film that's probably not going to win any Oscars, I wouldn't guess, but it may nonetheless still be entertaining. And that film, of course, is Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat! Yes. Flawless victory. It was released in theaters and released on HBO Max. Simultaneously, it is written by Greg Russo and Dave Callaham, directed by first-time feature film director Simon McQuoid.
And before
before
you do the cast, you have to say the cast name
and then follow it with the character and the announcer voice.
Bingo.
And the announcer voice. Okay. All right, I gotta have a sip of beer before I do this. Please hold. All right, let's see how this goes. Now, do I do my normal voice for the actor's name and then transition? What's the best way to do it?
I think so.
Okay, so we have Louis Tan as
Go Young.
Jessica McNamee as
Sonya Blade.
Josh Lawson as
Kano.
Tadanobu Asano as
Raiden.
Makad Brooks as
Jax.
Ludi Lin as
Liu Kang.
Chin Han as
Shang Tsung.
Joe Taslim as
Sub-Zero.
and Hiroyuki Sanada as
Scorpion.
How did I do? Did I do okay?
That's phenomenal. It was great.
All right, great. Good stuff. MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. Let's talk about the box office for this one as well, shall we?
Wah, wah. Box office breakdown.
A little box office breakdown for the folks listening at home or wherever they happen to be. Mortal Kombat had a close scrap with Demon something or another. Demon Slayer, some sort of anime thing that I am not privy to, know nothing about, but did quite well at the box office as well. Demon Slayer, the movie, got around 19, 21 million, something like that. Whatever. Mortal Kombat ended up with $23 million domestically, $27 million in its international debut, so it's sitting at about $51 million worldwide after a weekend, which is not bad. Which is not bad for a pandemic movie. Obviously, it's under Godzilla vs. Kong, but it's a very hard R rated film. And so, that kind of obviously limits its potential. And of course, there are folks like yourself that probably watched it at home from the comforts of their couch, their living room, to watch it on HBO Max. But there are folks like me who contributed to that $23 million domestically. That's right. I have seen my first movie in theaters since Bloodshot.
Oh my gosh.
It's been over a year. Weird. Weird is probably, I thought, I wondered, is I saw it in IMAX for the record.
Shot in IMAX?
I wasn't. I was going to see it in Dolby Cinema, and then the Dolby Cinema ones sold out because the capacity in Philadelphia is like 25-30%, so they just go quick. So I ended up getting an IMAX in Jersey because there was more seats, better opportunity for some better seats, and it worked out because I was able to do a double feature to watch Mortal Kombat and The Father, the weirdest fucking double feature of all time, for the record. But both directorial debuts, so that's the connective tissue right there. I saw it in IMAX. I thought, God, it's been so long since I've seen a movie in theaters. Like, is seeing something in a theater alone, but then to add IMAX on top of that, like, is it going to be a mind-blowing revelation? And it wasn't. It was, wow, I missed this. It was really what it was, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I've never experienced anything like this. It's not like strapping a VR headset on and thinking like, oh my God, oh, this is a whole new dimension to things. But it was still nonetheless appreciated. It was a lot of fun. It looked a hell of a lot better than it would have on my TV, which is not half bad for the record. But it was a good way to watch things. I can't press the pause button at any point. But it was weird. There was some kid that like popped up like a row in front of us and like started yelling at his parents. Like he'd clearly just run into the theater. I'm like, why is this child in this theater? This is not appropriate for children. So you get your
control of your fucking kid. Get over here.
you get your theater quirks, of course, with watching it. But I enjoyed the experience of seeing this, with IMAX. It elevated it, in a certain sort of way, as you'd expect it to, and as a return to some sense of normalcy after Anna and I have now been vaccinated and are well past our 2 weeks after our second dose each. It felt like hey, this is a semi-normal activity that we can do. We kept our mask on the whole time. We weren't eating popcorn or anything like that. So I like to think that we were doing some Mortal Kombat cosplay as we were watching the film. She had a black mask on, so she was doing a little Noob Saibot action. I had a gray mask on, so I was playing Smoke for my Mortal Kombat cosplay as I watched it. A little surprising, neither of us decided to not go with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. We figured those would be two obvious candidates for everyone to cosplay, so we decided to go in a different direction. But I'm totally kidding about all that shit, but I did make the joke as we were driving to the theater. It was fun. It was fun to see something in a theater. And we signed up for AMC A-List, so I guess we're committed for at least the next month to see a couple things in theaters. And there's not a whole lot coming out, really until probably June, July. That's when it seems like the more like the bigger movies are starting to come out. Your Fast and Furiouses, your Black Widows and stuff like that. But it was nice. It was nice. So Anyway, that's my theater-going experience. I want to talk about the movie experience, the experience of watching Mortal Kombat. So whether you're watching it in a theater, whether you're watching it at home, what do you have to say for the listeners about your thoughts on this 2021 iteration of Mortal Kombat?
I've seen Mortal Kombat twice.
Oh, okay.
I've seen it twice. I watched it. So the way it was supposed to go down, I was super hyped up about it. We were supposed to have a little family get together at the house, and the guys were going to watch Mortal Kombat on Friday and eat dinner. We were going to eat dinner and then watch Mortal Kombat, and the girls were going to do whatever the girls wanted to do. Nobody came over on Friday. It was a long week, and so I just watched it on Friday. And then everybody.
Like, I'm not waiting for this
Saturday.
shit. Fuck it.
I'm not waiting. No.
Okay.
And so everybody came over on Saturday, and I was like, okay, we can watch Nobody. If you guys want to watch Nobody, I'll go ahead and get it on the Amazons. Mm-hmm. Or we can watch Mortal Kombat. And both Sarah's dad and Sarah's sister's boyfriend wanted to watch, his name's Austin. So Kelly and Austin wanted to watch Mortal Kombat. So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm definitely in. I'll watch Mortal Kombat again.
Did they know that you had already seen it, or did you hold that
they
close
did.
to the chest?
I announced
okay,
them.
okay.
I said, listen, I've already seen it, but I will happily watch it again. I'm excited to watch it again.
Okay.
What I can say is Austin, who he's a little younger than ourselves, but he's got passing familiarity with Mortal Kombat. He enjoyed it. He got the humor that was in it, and I think he had an overall good time with it. Sarah's dad, who knows absolutely nothing about Mortal Kombat, just took it as an enjoyable action movie. So that's what I'll say moving forward. Okay. I think that if you have a familiarity with the material it's based on, I think you're going to have a real good time. I think if you don't have a passing familiarity with with the characters and with what Mortal Kombat is, I think you'll still have a good time, but I think you'll have less of a good time. I think it's just and that's what I had to check at the door. That's what I struggled with. As somebody that gets a lot of nostalgia. Yeah. I get a lot of that from this movie. I had an awesome time with it. I laughed my ass off. I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed this movie. Characters are I feel like there's like one character in this movie. But and then acting, I feel like acting is like but at the same time it did not hamper my experience with the movie at all. Like, I had a really good time with it. But like with Sarah's dad, he didn't get a whole lot from it. I think he just enjoyed some of the action bits, and and that's what it was, and that's cool. So let's talk about choreography. All I wanted from a Mortal Kombat movie was strong choreography. I wanted cool action sequences, and I got cool action sequences. Check. Boom. It's brutal. It's violent.
It's bloody.
That's
gory.
It. It's gory. And you get some cool choreography, which is cool. The acting's a little bit hit or miss, I think. With I don't know. I just feel like it's hit or miss, but I didn't go into it. It's almost like Godzilla. I didn't go into it looking for a character piece. You know what I mean? I went into it just wanting kick-ass. And that's what I got. I got kick-ass. And so I'm happy with it. I'd say overall I'm happy with it. You get a little bit of you get some brutal fight sequences, you get some Mortal Kombat zaniness with just the way things work, and characters are over the top, and I don't know, I think it's just a really fun movie. I had a real good time with it. What about you?
I enjoyed it. There's a lot of things that I didn't love, and this is obviously coming from someone who is a huge fan of the franchise, who has more or less kept up to date with it. Although technically, I don't think I ever beat the story mode on Mortal Kombat 11. So I guess I should go back and do that at some point. It surprised me with how a lot of it was faithful to the games in some ways, and then in other ways they just did their own fucking thing, and that pissed me off. So I'll talk about the latter in spoilers, because I think some of that really hampered my enjoyment of the film. But I do think, it's tough, but I think your comparison to Godzilla versus Kong is apt in the sense that, like, it's a fucking Mortal Kombat film. You have to accept that, before you walk in the door or before you chuck it on your TV. There's a level of schlockiness and kind of ridiculousness that is to be expected with something like this. And I think that in large part, it embraces that and it kind of leans into that, and I think it makes it work. And I think the things that you're going to want out of a Mortal Kombat adaptation are, generally speaking, present. And I think, obviously, that starts, really with the fight choreography. And I think it's really well done. The film starts with a bang, ends with a few different bangs, in terms of fights. It lulls a lot in the middle, it's kind of devoid of a lot of fighting in the middle, maybe some verbal sparring perhaps, but, and I think it could have been better balanced in that regard, but I think that when the fights are there, they're actually just really well done. I think the costumes particularly are really, really nice translations of a lot of the versions of these characters that we've seen in some of the more recent games since probably that reboot.
Instantly identifiable.
Yeah, you know who these characters are. I feel like generally, they're all kind of well cast. They look like their characters. They fit their characters. Some people are better actors than others, so it goes. You know what I mean? But some of the dialogue, like I said, you expect schlockiness. Some of the dialogue's just bad. Sometimes it just veers into being bad. And some of it is. We're referencing the game in a cute, kitschy way, and sometimes that's fun, sometimes that's funny, sometimes it's like, oh, they forced that one. But I guess I'll say that I enjoyed it, despite my grievances with some of the plot elements and kind of how it approached certain things and its need to kind of fuck with things that it didn't need to fuck with. I think the effects work was actually really well done. It's a very different film than the 1995 film. I think that the 95 film for me did a better job of adapting the storyline of the first one, and obviously some of that has dated because it's now quite quick. It's a few years old, and this one I think introduced more aspects of the lore that I really appreciated, like stuff with Scorpion and Sub-Zero and stuff was like really, really cool. I think overall, it still felt cheap at times. There's probably about 3 or 4 sets that they recycled for the entire movie, and you can kind of notice that. Like, just because you cover something in ice doesn't mean that it's a new set. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's kind of how I felt about it a couple times, and almost felt like it was restricted in that regard. Outworld looked like a weird green screen set for most anything that was set out there.
All of it.
Yeah, and so this is a film that could have used double the budget. It had a $55 million budget. And I think that for what it's worth, none of the actors here are really anyone huge. You know what I mean? Like, there's not a lot of big actors in this film. There's a lot of actors that have had, smaller roles in the past, TV roles, generally speaking, and probably like Hiroyuki Sanada is probably like your big name. And, it is what it is. They obviously put the budget towards what they could with the effects and the costumes, and I think it paid out there. I just wish that they had a little more faith in this movie to invest in it more up front, because I think, it's doing, obviously, I think pretty well under the circumstances as we talked about. And it's apparently like one of HBO Max's most popular things, like even more than Godzilla. And I'm not surprised, because, Mortal Kombat's just a really fun franchise that's been around for decades now, and people have a lot of nostalgia for that 95 film, less so for its sequel, but people still love that first movie. They love the video games. The video games are still ever present. They're probably more popular now than they've ever been in any other lifetime. And, it's the kind of thing that I grew up with. So this is the sort of thing where I'm just like, I know Mortal Kombat is weird and schlocky and occasionally stupid and out there, but like, you can take that and make something really cool out of it. You know,
Yeah.
and I don't know that entrusting it to a first-time director was the best idea, but I do think, you know, given his apparent lack of experience, given the budgetary restrictions, I do think he did a fairly commendable job, I would say, you know, overall. So, you know, to the point where, despite, again, my grievances, I guess I enjoyed it overall, and you know, I was surprised that Anna liked it as much as she did, which is to say, I think she thought it was okay and enjoyable, but I definitely thought that, like, I'm like, this is not a movie that's going to land with. I just don't, you know, she has no familiarity with the franchise. You know, when I rant and rave about the theme song from the 1995 film, she's like, "What are you talking about?" Which is disheartening, of course, because that's just an amazing song.
It's one of the best.
There's no denying it. And I think my one caveat that I said a while back was, if this film does not use that theme song in some incarnation, I will write it off forever. And so fortunately there is some of it integrated into the score. There's a credits version of the song, which is like a remix, like an updated 2021 version of it, which is not as good, but they put it in there, so I can't discount the film for that alone. So yeah, you know, there's a lot of plot stuff I will be, you know, keen to talk about in spoilers, but I think, you know, just general non-spoiler thoughts. I was happy with how they handled some characters, less happy with others, you know, happy with certain plot elements that they brought in, less happy with others. But, you know, as a theater experience, you know, there was enough to hook me, to make me enjoy the film for the most part, even with some lulls in the middle, that, I don't know, I was happy with it overall. And now that it's on HBO Max, I'm just like, well, you know, I might chuck it on at some point and just give it another go. You know, just because I'm like,
I can tell you the second viewing isn't as good as the first.
I think that it's going to highlight the shortcomings of the writing and stuff. But I think, you know, if I kind of watch it, not really looking out for that, like knowing that I'm expecting that, just going in looking for some fun fights and for like, you know, those, you know, there's certain moments in this film where like there's a fatality that's executed, and I'm like, oh fuck, you know what I mean? You know, when I'm watching that in the theater, you don't really get time to like sit with that. You're on to the next thing. Whereas I feel like at home that there are probably a few moments where I'd pause it and turn to Anna or something, you know, just be like, Jesus fucking Christ, dude, you know? And so I just feel like, you know, being able to watch it at home would kind of help like let some of those moments like, you know, really hit home a little harder, I think, overall. So yeah, that's kind of my scattered general thoughts on Mortal Kombat. Do you have any non-spoiler thoughts you wanna add based on that?
We can dive into it. Yeah.
All right. So recommendation for Mortal Kombat, 5-tiered scale. Very yes, totally fine, shithouse. Where are you at with Mortal Kombat?
I'm gonna lay it exactly where I laid Godzilla.
Okay.
Which I think was yes, right?
It sounds right. It's 2 weeks ago. Who remembers that far back?
Who remembers that? I don't know. But I'm going to say that I feel like it, with both Godzilla and this movie, I feel like I've been very lenient from a quote-unquote critic's perspective. Strictly on the basis that I feel like they set out what they sought to do. And I think that I really feel like the people involved in this movie played Mortal Kombat, enjoyed Mortal Kombat, and just wanted to make a Mortal Kombat movie. And I think we got a Mortal Kombat movie. We can get into plot elements and stuff when we dive into it. But I think that they sought out to make a campy movie. It felt campy. It felt well made. As far as the action and stuff goes, well shot, and I just feel like it just kind of set out to make a campy video game movie, and it wasn't terrible. It was pretty decent, you know.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. That's a good point. It's a video game movie, you know. The bar for video game movies is kind of in the floor. I mean, you know, we've had better luck with Pikachu, and I know you really enjoyed Sonic, certainly more than I did. But you know, these are better than like, and honestly, like Mortal Kombat, the '95 film, is kind of often held up as the gold standard for video game movies. And you know what I mean? Which is to say, like, that's obviously not a perfect film, but like most of them are just fucking dog shit. And so this, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
you have to know you have to know what it is. You know what I mean? I think when you watch it.
I think the coolest thing is about this movie is it leans into it. And you might not immediately get it, like if you never played the video games or anything like that, you might not get how they're leaning into it, but they definitely leaned into it. There's a lot of little bits in there that are straight up out of the video game. And just little nods, you know, and I found those little nods really, really great. I thought they were awesome, the little nods that they put in there from the video game. Just the little nuances and stuff like that. I think it's really cool. We can get into it in spoilers, but yeah, I went into it expecting a video game movie. I got a video game movie. Well, I think the acting's a little rough around the edges. And I do agree with you in the lulls. It's not a very yes video game movie, but I don't know that I've ever seen a very yes video game movie.
I don't think one exists. Yeah.
You know, but I think that, you know, out of if we're gonna box it into that kind of thing of video game movies, I think this is an upper tier video game movie. I think they hit the boxes that they sought out to hit. And I enjoyed the movie more so on the first viewing than the second viewing. It, like you say, it really highlights the shortcomings when you watch it the second time. But yeah, I had a real good time with it, so I'll give it a yes.
Okay,
but I will say that with future movies, I will be less forgiving. I've been pretty nonchalant with my yeses.
The Emperor is not as forgiving as I am.
That's right.
This is maybe... I'll ask you a question, and if you think you want to wait until spoilers to answer it, I'm okay with that. We'll be there very shortly. Who in the cast did you think stood out? Like, who did you enjoy more than other characters? Like, who do you think was the best? And like I said, if you want to answer that in a minute after I give a recommendation, that's fine. But I don't know if that's necessarily if you need to give a spoiler.
No,
answer
I think
like who are your favorite? Who stood out on the cast for you?
Would it be?
Because I'm just curious.
Well, I think
you can give me character
movie.
names. Yeah, Kano. Okay, yeah,
Kano,
Josh Lawson's Kano. Yeah,
yeah, he definitely carried the movie.
I mean, he was like the sole source of humor in this film. It feels like
sole source for humor. Yeah, he was the sole source for humor. Period. He also like the whole like the conflict within the story. Kind of like he brought the movie to the climax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He drove the movie to different landscapes. Like the movie felt very much centered around Kano, even though you had a main protagonist. So I think Kano definitely did the most work in this movie. And I think that if you're going to pick an actor for that role, I think he nailed what he needed to do. Because if you had somebody less interesting and less like, if you had a less embodied person playing that role, like if you didn't quite grapple with the character as well, I think the movie would have been dog shit. Like without Kano, the movie would have
he's the source of entertainment for vast swaths of the movie.
That's right.
Okay. Any other? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, you have you got the cool stuff with Scorpion and with Sub-Zero. You know what I mean? But that's kind of like that kind of felt like a what do they call it? What's the correct word for it? Subplot. Like I mean, it's a little subplot thing, you know, going on. Yeah. He's a good actor. The guy that plays Scorpion, you know what I mean? He's great. You know, but I mean, he's not in it for the vast majority of the movie.
Sure. Right.
You know, so I mean, like I said, I think really the hat goes off to Josh Lawson, for like I said, I think he carried the movie. I mean, you have Louis Tan. Louis Tan's the Cole Young guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's like, the guy caught in the middle or whatever, I guess, and he's the one that provides like the emotionality, I guess, for all the characters because nobody else really has any. But his character's not inherently interesting.
Right.
His character kind of fell flat, I guess. But yeah, so that's, if you ask me who stands out, it's definitely
Okay.
Josh.
I was curious, and I knew, I mean, I think I expected that, you enjoyed Kano, but I was curious to see if there were any particular standouts, because I feel like, I mean, I agree with Josh Lawson kind of being good, and I agree with the Joe Taslim and Hiroyuki Sanada kind of being like two of the better ones, but like, not enough screen time, more screen time given to these characters. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck about some of these guys. Like, can we not spend a lot of time with them? But we do. We'll talk about that in spoilers. I'll just say for my recommendation, I'm going to sit it totally fine with this one. I think that it's fairly well done for what it is, but as someone that knows this franchise, they could have done better. And I think that the changes they made held this film back in a big way for me. And I think, there are certain things where I'm just like, wow, they really just shat on that character, where I was just like, okay, that's a little disappointing, but I get it. It's Mortal Kombat. Someone's got to win. Someone's got to lose. Fatality, flawless victory, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I get all that, stuff. So choices had to be made, but I found some of them disappointing and I found some of them fine. You know what I mean? But it never really ascended to anything like above just being like what I hoped it could be. You know what I mean? Like, they delivered on the fights and they delivered on the effects, but everything else kind of held it back to such a degree that, yeah, I mean, it just kind of is, it's middle of the road kind of a film for me. And, that's not an inherently bad thing. I enjoyed it. But I think I acknowledge, that it had its fair share of shortcomings that I think that didn't need to be there.
It certainly does.
And I don't think any version of a Mortal Kombat movie is ever going to again be an Oscar-winning caliber film or anything like that. But I think you can do more with it, I would say. So maybe they will. Maybe they'll get 19 sequels, and they will. But it's a decent starting point. But I think it has a little potential that it lost out on. So we'll talk about that now as we get into full spoilers for Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat.
So I can tell you who the worst actor is in this movie.
Okay, well, let's continue that thread. Who's the worst actor?
I think my least favorite actor in this movie, or actress, is Sonya Blade. I think Sonya Blade was really fucking pitiful. I did not enjoy Sonya Blade's character at all.
So that's interesting. Anna totally agreed with you. Thought she was the worst. I thought she was like fine. You know what I mean?
The second time.
maybe that's what it is. Like, I didn't hate her in the role. I was just like, she's fine. Like, none of these people are like particularly good, except for like Josh Lawson and like the more experienced actors. Like, I thought even like Tadanobu Asano, who plays Raiden, is like, he's a good actor, but like, I mean, part of it is like that character does fucking nothing in this film. Like, Raiden is a useless sack of shit in this film, except for teleporting a bunch of fuckers at the end. Like, why didn't you do that when they were about to when Shang Tsung was sucking Kung Lao's soul out? Like, you just remembered that you could just teleport anyone at will? Like, fuck off with that shit.
Your soul is mine.
I thought, Chin Han, was like fine as Shang Tsung. Didn't have anywhere near the energy that, your Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa had in that original 95 film. That the guy that played Shang Tsung in that film was aces. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that was not the same here. I felt like, definitely a better Scorpion, definitely a better Sub-Zero, definitely a better Jax, I think, overall.
How about freezing his fucking arms off and snapping them off and then just tossing them off the side of the building?
Some pretty hardcore shit. How about Jax with his little baby arms for like 20 minutes in the movie?
Did they make those in adult sizes?
I was like, what? It was so goofy. I was like, why don't they just...
calling him out is so fucking hilarious.
Why don't they just put regular-sized arms on him? I mean, like, seriously, though. Like,
Shit,
obviously...
Are you kidding me? Did they make those in adult sizes?
Oh god, it looked ridiculous. We talk about Liu Kang being the most ripped motherfucker in the world.
Yes, everybody I know that have seen the movie said the same thing. Like when he's doing, like when he's in the fighter pit, and you can see every little tension in his muscle and his shoulders. I was sitting next to Austin when we watched it. He's like, "Holy shit, that guy is so lean."
You wouldn't have expected it, with the robes on and stuff. You're just like, yeah, he's in shape, whatever. Holy shit,
The funniest part,
shit,
well, one of the funniest parts, I really enjoyed when Sonya Blade's throwing knives at Reptile, and she fucking stabs him in the leg, throws a knife right in his fucking leg. That was hilarious. I laughed about that.
Oh, at Kano's leg, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, I mean, Kano was an infinite source of humor. I think there were times where, like, it was improv season and it was just like him just like rattling any old thing off the top of the dome. And I think most of it was funny. Sometimes it was like, you can curate this at some point and just find the funniest things that he said in any given take. But yeah, he injected a lot of levity that this film needed, and I think that it worked really well for that. And I even liked just like it's not even a fucking heel turn, you know what I mean? Because it's like Kano is an asshole from the get-go. He's a misogynistic piece of shit who's out for only money and out for himself. And then there's a scene with fucking Cabal. We'll talk about Cabal. Cabal is just like, hey, you guys ever seen that asshole named Kano down on Earthrealm? And like he just goes and talks to him. It's like, hey man, we'll pay you more money if you want to hang out with us and kick these fucking losers' asses. It's just like, all right,
okay,
man. Yeah, And I was just like, that's honestly great. That makes perfect sense for this character. There's absolutely no reason for Kano to be aligned with Earthrealm at this point. So I enjoyed that sort of thing of just being like, all right, I'll fuck off there. Yeah.
How'd you like their powers coming from the Mortal Kombat tattoo?
That was really fucking stupid. So
you'd like that.
There are I guess there are probably 3 big changes to the lore for the purposes of this film adaptation, and I fucking hated all of them. There's one thing that kind of worked that was born out of that I enjoyed. So the first thing being the tattoos. You got the Mortal Kombat tattoo. You're selected as a champion to participate in the tournament of Mortal Kombat. By the way, I really enjoyed the tournament in this movie. Oh, wait, there wasn't one. We just had a whole Mortal Kombat movie without a fucking Mortal Kombat in it. Go fuck yourself, screenwriters. Try again. That disappointed me. It was just like Shang Tsung just being like, I know we've got this big important tournament coming up, and we have Goro who's won 9 times in a row, but I really feel the need to cheat right now because I'm not confident in my chances for some fucking reason. And honestly valid, because Goro is a fucking bitch in this movie, is what I'll tell you.
Yeah, the one guy that has lost every fight that's been on screen. He's lost every single fight that he's been in on screen. He absolutely obliterates Goro.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure why Goro has won 900 years in a row, because he's clearly a fucking loser, is what I would say about that. So anyway, I was disappointed in the representation of Goro. I thought the CGI kind of looked like shit. The design was bad, and also he got taken down in 3 seconds, and also this loser man's wife took an axe to his leg, and I'm just like, no with any of this. So anyway, going back to kind of the three things that the changes to the lore that I didn't really care for, the chosen ones being marked with the tattoos was real dumb. You just didn't need it. You know what I mean? Anyone can participate in Mortal Kombat. It's important that obviously you know how to do good martial arts or whatever, and know how to kick people in the face. And if you can throw a fireball or 2, that's certainly helpful. But I didn't think that was a really necessary plot addition. The only thing that I did like that came out of that was that Sonya was the only one that didn't actually have it through most of the film, and it gave her an incentive, a motivation to kill Kano to get his mark so that Sonya would be a chosen fighter. I thought that was kind of the way that it passed from you kill someone, you inherit their mark because you're more worthy than the other person or whatever. That angle was fine. That's the thing that didn't really, I guess I shouldn't say that it totally pissed me off. I just didn't think it was necessary. You didn't need that sort of wrinkle, and people have pointed out there's a scene of when Cole first gets introduced to Sonya, Sonya's like, lift up your shirt. I got to see the birthmark, man. I got to see it. I need to prove that you're like, who you say you are. And then like in the next scene, there's like 700 pictures on the wall of the birthmark, and like she knows who he is, exactly who he is. She's, she has pictures of it. I'm like, what did you need that for? That was silly. I think the second thing that I didn't like, and I guess I'm going in ascending order of things that I liked the least. So this is the one I liked the least, but not as much as the final thing that I'll talk about. The Arcana concept. Basically, you have this hidden talent that allows you to chuck fireballs, shoot lasers from your eyes, have a spinny hat, have metal arms go from tiny to big. What? Your Arcana is your little tiny metal arms get big at some point? That's so fucking stupid. Like, it makes sense for some.
I thought that was because of the I thought that the tattoo, like, if you don't have the tattoo, you don't have the Arcana. Is that the way that works?
I think, yes. I think that's true. You need to be chosen so that then you get access to your special ability, whatever it is. Because Sonya only uses, like, her purple blast and fucks up Melina after she kills Kano and gets his tattoo.
Right, okay.
You know what I mean? So, like, that, it makes sense. It's internally consistent, and I appreciate that. I just didn't think it was necessary. Like, man, just let these motherfuckers have fireballs, man. Like, let them have flame dragons. Like, I think the problem with it is that it turned into, like, 30 to 45 minutes of everyone just sitting around at a table yelling about egg rolls and shit. And, like, that was how they, like, figured out their powers. And I was just like, I didn't need any of this. This is a waste of time. This is this script being stretched as much as possible because they don't have the budget to film any more fights than they could. And I felt it. It really felt like we need to take this film and slow it to a crawl because this is all we can do. Like, we spent the money on the costumes. We've allotted the money for the choreography and the effects. We need a movie that's going to be longer than an hour and 5 minutes long. So here's 30 to 45 minutes of bullshit that we'll figure out with this little dumb storyline. I just didn't care for it, and I just think it's just Mortal Kombat's silly, fair enough. But like literally, what is Kung Lao's thing? Like, his hat can spin. Like, he's really good with the spinny hat. Like,
he did the teleporty thing.
It did teleport. I guess that's fair. He did teleport. So, that seems like a bigger deal than the spinny hat. So maybe that's what it is. But I just didn't think he needed it.
He also had a force pull on that hat too.
Yeah,
and he can make it spin in the ground.
You sure can. He can make it into a little bit of a saw, and then he can take a flying vampire woman and just
split her in half.
Just run her right through it. That was brutal. Probably is that. All right, it's brief pause from my 3 points. Let's talk about the fatalities. Was that the most brutal fatality in the movie?
That one was quick. I think my favorite fatality in the movie, I think, would have to probably be Jax getting his arms froze off.
Yeah, that was pretty badass. That was a good one.
And it was slow too. You know what I mean? It felt like excruciating. Like, it's like, oh
yeah, like it was slowly like kind of creeping up his arm, and
yeah. And it started when he was up top, like he hit his shoulders and stuff. You know what I mean? It's like he was slowly working him over, and then all of a sudden he grabbed his arms and just fucking froze him and snapped him off. That was really brutal.
That was brutal.
The spinny hat was like flamboyant and gory and stuff, and that was kind of cool. There was also the soul suck. The soul suck was pretty.
Soul suck, yeah. Shang Tsung and Kung Lao, yeah.
Which he just really shit on Kung Lao, not Kung Lao.
Kung Lao. That's who he soul sucked. That's what you're.
He soul sucked. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
What else was there? Oh, there was the Jax head blast. The Jax
the head smash of Reiko, who was a useless fucker in this whole movie.
Yeah, that was he was a stupid character.
His whole character was just yell and swing a hammer a lot. I was like, what even is this character? Like, we didn't even try with this guy.
There was the giant dragon. The
dragon burning Cabal to a crisp. After he's already been burnt to a crisp. To be fair, that's why he's wearing the mask. But
and then you have this the scorpion. You got the scorpion. The scorpion flame thing. That was that. I thought that was artistically done. He didn't rip
cool,
off his face,
but it was a little underwhelming. I felt like
it was shorter than what I thought it was going to be.
I thought, we were going to get full, like, I'm going to melt this motherfucker down to a skeleton or something, but it really was just kind of like, hey, he just got burnt a little bit. He's a little crispy.
That's yeah.
He's a little toasty, is what I would say. But
how about that opening sequence though with Scorpion with the fucking knife on a rope?
That was so. I'm going to make a statement, and you may agree or you may disagree. That whole opening sequence was the best part of this film.
I would 110% agree.
It was fucking cool. It was badass. The choreography was really cool, and I just loved the vibe, and it felt like, if I, was making the Mortal Kombat movie that I would want to make, I think centering it around Bihan and Hanzo, pre-Sub-Zero, pre-Scorpion, like, that's the way to do it, because it sets up this rivalry between clans. You get the brutality of it, and it just really feels like such a great grounding point for like where the story goes. And I think they handled it exceptionally well in this film. Like, it was just so cool. And then the film goes to MMA ring with Cole, and I'm like, oh. But yeah, we'll talk about that. That's my third point. We'll get to that. But yes, that opening scene was fucking sick. I thought that was great. And it was long too, like it let you, like it was a good chunk, and it was cool. Like it really immersed you almost immediately into the film. Like it was badass.
See, and I think that I'd agree with. I would have more of that. I would almost have like I don't need like the sense of camaraderie between Earthrealm's protectors. I didn't really need that. I don't need the powwow in the mountains, with Raiden and stuff. I didn't need any of that.
I didn't think that needed to be the second act of the film.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you didn't need that much of it. You could have a little bit of it, like, it's fine.
And the whole thing is that we just didn't have any Mortal Kombat. It wasn't Mortal Kombat. It was...
Right. It wasn't building to a tournament. It was, Shang Tsung is being an asshole. We've got to, defeat his attacks at this point. Like, that was it. That was the plot. It's like...
So, I have hopes that the second movie will be something cool. I want the tournament. That's what I want. I just want nonstop tournament shit. That's what I want.
Yeah. And I think we got shades of that in the third act, where it's just like, all right, we're going to split up. We're going to have our one-on-one fights with everyone.
And see, that's the part that I think I like the combat in those sections pretty good. But it felt so breakneck. Like, I mean, it was bang, bang. All right, that's the end of the movie.
It was, and I think that's why it shouldn't be the third act of the film. You know what I mean? Like, the third act of the film should be Liu Kang versus Shang Tsung, or Liu Kang versus Goro, and then Shang Tsung saying, "Hey, you defeated my champion. Fuck you. I'm gonna take you out." Or Cole Young, if you want to chuck this fucker in there. You know what I mean?
20-minute
needs to be some duel, a final confrontation. The second act should be, you can have the montage of fights in that point. Like, we don't need to see literally every fight in the tournament.
You need to have Raiden fight fucking Soul Sucker.
Yeah, Raiden versus Shang Tsung, something for Raiden. Good God, he had nothing to do in this film.
He had nothing to do. We have no idea
I cannot
how badass
intervene.
Raiden can be.
It's like, well, you just did, so... And also, Shang Tsung is definitely breaking the rules, so I feel like that gives you some ground to be like, all right, I'll intervene because Shang Tsung is breaking the rules. I'll do something.
Protect my realm.
Yeah, do something, man. Like, oh, I'm gonna put this fucking barrier up. Yeah, whatever, that doesn't count. That's not doing anything.
How about you got this super old, like, where this place used to be a sacred place. It's so old, and everybody's always come here to fight Mortal Kombat. But then there's this giant Tesla fucking thing in the middle of every scene. Like, this giant crystal fucking Power Rangers looking thing up in the middle of the fucking
didn't
rocks.
understand that. Like, a lot of people online have like speculated, like, did they just reuse the set from a different movie that they didn't end up making? And I'm like, they must have. Like, it must have been like a budget scouting thing of just being like, we can't really film on location anywhere. And then WB rolls up and it's just like, hey, man, we're making this fucking sci-fi movie. We built a set. We didn't really do anything with it.
You can use
hey,
it.
Man,
Wait, but that giant fucking crystal thing's too heavy
the
to
crystal
move, so
thing
you
has
just
to
gotta
stay
shoot around it.
has to stay there. It was weird. And and that's the thing. It was just like that set was such a big part of the film, and I'm just like, this feels cheap. It feels like a TV show, like restricted in what it can. It feels like Arrow using the same warehouse for every goddamn action set piece in it. That they had the MMA gym, and then they had the farmhouse, which was probably like Sonia's farmhouse and Cole's farmhouse, space house, were probably like the same set. You know what I mean? Like one was on like kind of off to a corner, one was on the other corner. It was like those were the three things you get. And that's and I guess we did get. I mean, they probably could have shot the Scorpion Sub-Zero on the farmhouse set too, just dressed it up a little bit to be a little bit more, Japanese, I guess. But I don't know. It felt cheap in that respect to me, and that was disappointing because it didn't need to be. And I guess some of it, like when you get to that third act montage-y type thing, the breakneck segment, you get like some of the classic Mortal Kombat stages, like Jax is fighting Reiko on the pit, but like it just is just green screeny and weird looking. Like Outworld is green screeny and weird looking, like clearly fake. But like I get it. Like movies have to be made, and green screen and CG is an ever prevalent thing, but it's like they didn't have the money for this, and it just looked cheap as a result of it. So I kind of felt like that was really disappointing in terms of how they did that. But anyway, I don't know what we were talking about, but I can get back to my point number 3 if I'm just getting to the rambly stage of the podcast. But I do have a third point that I want to talk about, and I think it's the big one. I think it's the biggest one that for me really, really rubbed me the wrong way about this movie, and that was the needless inclusion of Cole Young as its central protagonist. Because Cole Young, just looking at the name, generic fucking boring ass name, generic fucking boring ass character, and this motherfucker's powers are plot armor. This is literally his power is generating armor so that he can protect him for the purposes of the plot. And, I just thought it was the lamest fucking shit possible. Like everything with that character was so lame. The Aquaman costume was dumb looking. Like he can just magically summon Tonfa to fight with, and like it's just fucking lame, and people online were just like, the way they set this movie up is Scorpion gets killed in the beginning. They set up that he goes to the Netherrealm to become a wraith. He's like haunting Cole's visions throughout. And Cole is clearly, obviously, the descendant of Hanzo Hasashi. There's absolutely no doubt about that from pretty much minute one, or at least when they put the text up on the screen about the prophecy says the descendant. It's like, oh, and here's this generic motherfucker in an MMA fight getting his ass kicked left and right. I was like, okay, he's the guy. We get it. He's the guy. Like, people were just like, just make him Scorpion. Like, at least he has cool powers then, whether he's, sharing that same space with Hanzo, like Hanzo is like, I don't know, mind melding with him to make that work. Like, I don't know, anything would have been better than this fucking lame ass looking armor and the stupid looking Tonfa. I was like, is he Stryker? Is that who he is from the Mortal Kombat like thing? It was just lame. It was just lame, and like they spent so much screen time with this guy, and I'm like, look, I think I don't know if I'm not ready to blame Louis Tan, because I don't know that he didn't do a lot to make his character enjoyable, is what I would say, but I don't think he had anything to work with. Like there was I don't know that anyone really could have saved that role because it's just boring.
Maybe they set it up to have him get fatalitized in the second movie.
I sure fucking hope so, is what I would say, because
just completely fucking obliterated by somebody.
Okay, you can give me your Johnny Cage, sequel bait at the end, whatever. That's fine.
Maybe Johnny Cage steals his mark.
Maybe. But, at the same time, what I think that they could have done, and what maybe they even should have done, is, look, we all know Johnny Cage is a white guy. You know what I mean? But... yeah. You're updating this, and like, look, once upon a time when the Mortal Kombat video games were made, all the people that acted as those characters were fucking white people. You know what I mean? Except for Jax. Jax is still a black guy from the beginning. But like, you know, the people that were dressed up as Sub-Zero, that are dressed up as Scorpion, were fucking white guys. And, you know, those characters weren't necessarily intended to be, you know, white people or anything at that given time. But like, to me, there's nothing wrong with just making Johnny Cage Asian. And like, if you like Louis Tan, you're sold on him, and you think this guy can be the thing, like, give him a role that's intended to be charming, and you know, and yeah, maybe you don't want to have Kano and Johnny Cage dominate the screen because, you know, they're two dominant personalities that are gonna, you know, conflict and bounce off each other. But I just think you replace him with this boring character who has no ties to the Mortal Kombat mythos that no one has any fucking reason to care about, and okay, he's got a family. He's a family man. You know what I mean? He's got this daughter who I definitely thought was his sister because it didn't understand the age difference from the beginning. It was very confusing for a while. There just wasn't anything there. There was nothing in that character to make him compelling. And like, at least give the man some fucking compelling powers. Like, Aquaman armor and the Tonfa, it's just like they just didn't even try with that shit.
Was it kind of like a Black Panther suit, like where it absorbed the energy and it made it strong?
I thought it was, but it didn't seem like he like released it like the way that the Black Panther suit did. You know, it wasn't like they released the kinetic energy and it bounced off and, you know, hit people with it. It kind of just seemed like it just collected energy, and then he remembered that
it let him get his ass kicked.
I know how to fight magically. Yeah, I'm capable of getting my ass kicked, but I have enough resilience to then just take out the 9-time champion of Mortal Kombat because I'm the greatest. I'm Cole Young. Look at me. I don't know. It was just silly. You know, like you said, he was just getting his ass kicked the whole fucking movie. Everyone's just like, you're a fucking loser, man. You got your shit and you don't even know what you're doing. You don't even have your Arcana because you're such a fucking loser.
So I'm going to turn that armband your daughter gave you into a suit of armor.
Yeah, it's just fucking lame, man.
No, there's no disagreeing there. It's pretty fucking lame.
And there's so much screen time dedicated to him, and it's just like, I don't care. I don't care about him.
Just give me more Kano. You know, I'll take more Kano.
And I know that, you know, a lot of it is probably born out of the fact that I'm just like, why are we wasting time on this character that no one knows anything about, that no one cares about?
Why would you not? I mean, there's a lot of what ifs you could do, but like, why wouldn't you center the movie around fucking Fireball?
Really, anyone else? Liu Kang. I mean, is
yeah.
He is, in effect, the main protagonist of the Mortal Kombat series. You know what I mean? Like,
just center it around him.
Could do that.
Have him go and collect his. Go ahead and have him collect all the fucking people.
You could center around literally any other character, and I think it's a better movie for it. You know what I mean? And you can make this character Johnny Cage, and his backstory is that he's, you know, a washed-up Hollywood actor, and now he's an MMA fighter, but at least he'd have some fucking personality, you know, and I think that would have been something. You could have set it around Jax. You could have set it around Kung Lao. Kung Lao would have been interesting to set it around him. You could have set it around fucking Kano. I mean, I guess it kind of did in a way, but you could have set it around Sonya. Sonya, you know, would have been fine. You know, maybe take it or leave it with your opinions on the actress's performance there, but I don't know. And I
could have done a lot of different things.
I realize I'm harping on this a lot, but I just felt like I just do not understand it. From what I understand, and maybe I've said as much already, apparently the inclusion of Cole Young was a studio mandate. Like, we need to have this audience insert character so that they understand what all this shit's about. But it's just like, you could have served that purpose and still been faithful to the games. You know, so, you know, I think I made the point earlier maybe that you don't always need to be faithful to the games. Like, I'm not looking for a 1000% accurate adaptation of it. You know, changes where they're made, you know, can be successful, you know, and like I said, the Sonya getting the tattoo from Kano, like, that's a neat wrinkle. Kano's going to come back in a sequel with a metal plate over his eye because of course he is. You know, that's how they literally said in this movie, like, death is just another portal or whatever it is they say. You know, it's just like all these characters that people liked are going to come back. But I don't know. If you're going to intentionally break from basically the storyboards that have been handed to you, you better have a damn good reason for doing it. You know, and I don't think that they did. I think ultimately they did not have a good reason to do that. And I think that's what pissed me off the most with kind of how they treated these characters. And I know what the end result is, and I think the one of the biggest things that harms this film, and it's something you pointed out as well, is that because of the way they decided to structure this film, Scorpion gets the beginning, and then he's gone for fucking an hour and 30 minutes of this movie, and then he just magically shows up at the end to fight Sub-Zero, and it's like, yo, Scorpion should have been in this whole movie.
Yeah,
Scorpion would have been cool as an antagonistic presence. Yeah, give me something with him, not just like little visions of him in the mirror or something like that. Like, this is a badass character, you know, and, you know, this is like one of the biggest actors that you got in this film, and like he's barely in it. Like clearly this is all you could afford with him, but I don't know. I just felt like Scorpion was barely in this film, and like Sub-Zero was like such a huge presence in this, and I felt like those two should have had equal presence, because Sub-Zero was fucking cool. You know, that Jax fight, and really anytime he showed up, the costume design was cool. You know, the powers, even just like, you know, like the ice falling from the sky, you know, was cool. Like, you know, they really did a neat job with Sub-Zero, and I felt like they didn't, like when Scorpion was on screen, they did that, but he just wasn't on a screen. He wasn't on the screen enough for them to really take the character kind of to the heights that I think that they could have had. But anyway, I think that might be the end of my rant about the things that I disliked. Was there anything else in this film that stuck out to you overall?
We got Soul Sucking. We've got
Soul Sucking.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just a video game ass kicking movie, and I mostly got that.
Right.
I really did. I thought Kano was pretty hilarious. The funniest part of the whole movie was when he kept getting tripped.
Oh yeah. When Liu Kang is doing like the leg sweep every like three or four times in a row. Yeah, that was awesome.
Oh my god, it used to piss me off so much when I play that fucking video game. Get leg tripped all the time. Oh man. And then he would jump. He tried to jump over it because he thought he would.
He like faked him out. You fuck. Yeah,
it was really gold.
Yeah, I think it was clear to me that the people that made this movie, for the most part, obviously maybe they had to comply with a studio mandate to make Cole Young the most generic motherfucker in this movie for some reason. But I did get the sense that they played the games, that cared for a lot of the mythos and seeded in some fun kind of references here and there. Both to, just kind of the act of playing the game like that. The leg sweep over and over being a cheap move felt like an obvious reference to the games. There's multiple mentions to people uppercutting, which is definitely, like an in-game kind of thing. But I think more than that, obviously you got some Easter eggs here and there. There's like I think you see Shao Kahn, and you see like his figure or something like that at one point. There's like a Kotal Khan
in the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a reference to like a Native American warrior, which is clearly intended to reference Nightwolf. And there's little things here and there where it's just like referencing other characters that are going to appear. And even having like maybe something as simple as Sub-Zero losing like his pauldrons at the end and kind of being in all black, foreshadowing his future as Noob Saibot potentially, was kind of like a thing that, is something that could be there. So it was cool, overall, how they managed to seed some of that in. And I just wish that, in other aspects, they were a little more faithful. I said they were clearly well versed, and maybe they had some restrictions in place, but I think they could have done a better job overcoming them. Is what I would say. So, and Cabal. I think I mentioned I would come back to Cabal, so I'll just say Cabal was actually really well done, and I was shocked by that because I thought like Reiko and Nitara were like two useless fucking. They were just cannon fodder. You know what I mean? Like they were just there to get fatality'd. But Cabal, they actually gave like a lot of dialogue, and they made him cool with the fucking fast moving shit, and like the costume design was cool, and like actually kind of made him sort of a character, and that was neat. Okay, final thought, and then we'll move on. I promise. And I probably mentioned, I probably wanted to mention this earlier. I felt like the marketing spoiled a lot of this movie, and that was a little disappointing. Like they made that Scorpion Sub-Zero fight kind of a centerpiece in the marketing, and that was like the final confrontation in this film. And that was disappointing that we saw a huge chunk of that already. And I think that was true of a lot of like just the interactions. Like we kind of got a sense of where everything was going to go from the marketing. and I didn't. I wish that they hadn't spoiled as much. But the one thing that they managed to not spoil was the fact that Cabal was going to be more than a 1 second cameo, which I thought it would be a 1 second cameo, and then he would get dragon to death because that was in the trailer. So, hey, they concealed at least one thing. They concealed, obviously, Natara being in it for well, she was in it for about 10 seconds, to be honest. Look at my beauty. And, oh, she's in half. Oh, I'm gonna suck some souls now. Anyway, that's what I got on Mortal Kombat. Any other final thoughts from you?
No, that's it, man. That's all I got.
All right. Perhaps a little rambly and a little ranty at times, but hey, man, it's Mortal Kombat. It just brings out some passions in us. So that's it. That's Mortal Kombat. So moving on. What you been up to over the past couple weeks? Any good stuff? Any good things?
Finished a show called Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Ooh.
I did finish that.
Well, maybe we'll talk about that very soon.
Been watching a show called Invincible.
And that's probably close to wrapping up, right?
I think so. Probably. Okay. Maybe.
Has it been good? You know, since I think episode 1 was some sort of holy shit thing that happened, as you talked about it a while back. Has it been good since then?
It's been mostly okay. I mean, I enjoy watching it, so I mean, it's totally fine. It hasn't beat the first episode.
Okay,
you know what I mean, as far as holy shit stuff goes, but it's been totally okay. I watched Hurt Locker, which was still very good with a Anthony Mackie performance and Jeremy Renner.
It's got the Falcon and Hawkeye in it, so you know, yeah.
That's it. What else have I watched? What else have I done? Mortal Kombat. Hung a ceiling fan on the back porch, which was pretty cool.
Very nice.
That's nice. New appliances. I got new appliances. That's a pretty big get.
You sent some pictures. You got a fridge, dishwasher, stove, oven, microwave.
Yep, all of them. Pretty much all of them. My microwave took a shit is what happened. Wouldn't microwave anything anymore, and that was a pretty big letdown. I ate cold leftovers for a couple days in a row. So I'm tired of the shit.
Brutal.
My dishwasher has been the nastiest thing in existence for quite some time. So finally got rid of that fucking thing. My refrigerator was annoying because it was small. My freezer was small because it was one of those. It was just like a French door deal, half and half, and I didn't really have room for really anything. So anyways, new refrigerator, new stove, or range. I think they're called ranges technically. Okay. And then I've, all new appliances. GE. I like them a lot. I'm very happy with them. Cooks the popcorn. I hit the popcorn button on the microwave.
Is it on the money?
Yep, you put the bag of popcorn in the microwave. It uses sensors or some shit in there, and it senses the humidity inside the microwave oven. I don't know. Anyways, you hit the popcorn button, okay, and literally you get like 2 or 3 kernels in the bag, and none of the popcorn's burnt.
That's some shit right there. Because I feel like
it's just fucking.
I mean, I'm sure you've had the same experience, but the popcorn button is a fucking lie. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
you hit the popcorn button.
We'll incinerate this fucking bag is what we'll do, or not pop it enough, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, they're either undercooked or they're overcooked, and you burn your popcorn in order to get all the kernels. You know what I mean? But this son of a bitch, it cooks them within the margin of error. It's got to be precise because I'm telling you, dude, I dumped that bitch out and I literally had like 3 or 4 kernels at the bottom of the bowl, and the popcorn was just perfect. I was so happy. The pans
best feeling in the world.
The pans also get really hot, like really quick. Like I can, like before I'd put olive oil in my pan, and it would take a decent amount of time for that pan and that oil to get hot. Now within like a minute, the oil's like ready to go and the pan's ready to go. You start cooking.
I assume it's electric.
It's just an electric deal. Yeah. And I think, I want to say, I think that's been about it. I haven't really been doing a whole lot. Watching American Idol and The Voice, and I enjoy me some Fixer Upper. I like that show with Chip and Joanne Gaines. That's a good pastime. But other than that, though, I think that's really been about it. We picked out a venue for the wedding. I don't know if we talked about that or not.
Not on air, I don't think. So if you want to enlighten us,
we picked it
feel
out. Free. Picked out a venue in Dover, Florida, Cross Creek Ranch. It's where I will be tying the knot next year. So we picked that out. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. It's a pretty big production. But we don't do anything really. You pick out your food and you just pick out what you want. And there's like a big staff at this place that we're getting married at, and they pretty much do the whole thing for you. So that's pretty cool. So that's something that's happening. Other than that, though, I think that's pretty much it for me. I haven't really done a whole lot. What you been up to, man?
Well, watched a few movies. Is probably where I'll start. So, it's been a couple of weeks since we recorded. I went up to New York for part of that time, and I didn't really get a whole lot done there in terms of watching things. But since I've come back, I've had a few things that I've been up to. So, I guess the one thing that I did do actually, slight backtrack. The one thing that I did do while I was in New York, the one movie that we actually ended up watching pretty much totally on a whim, was Moneyball, which
Brad Pitt's Moneyball.
Brad Pitt's Moneyball. I'm not sure if you've seen it.
No, I haven't. No.
Yeah, I obviously am a baseball fan. I've seen the film a couple times, but I hadn't seen it in a while. And I think that we were running through like a list of like Best Picture nominees or something like that. And, because we were talking about like Oscar stuff and stuff like that with Anna's parents. And we just came across like Moneyball, like, ooh, Moneyball's a good film. She asked her parents if they had seen it, and they said, no, we never saw it. And it was co-written by Aaron Sorkin, and they're big fans of The West Wing and kind of other stuff that he's been up to. And so we're just like, fuck, the thing was on Netflix. Let's watch it. Turns out, not on Netflix anymore, but it was on IMDb TV, so we had to watch it we had to watch it with ads, but it was for free. So it was a less than ideal viewing experience of it because of the fucking ads, which were definitely annoying. But we just kind of sat there and watched it on a whim. And it's a great film. Brad Pitt is hilarious in it. It's very touching, and it's just a really, really well-made baseball film. And obviously, it centers around Billy Beane, bringing sabermetrics and different kind of statistical analysis to the game of baseball. Changing the game, so that it's not about batting average and home runs. It's about people getting on base and scoring runs. And it's just kind of a different approach to the game, which has kind of proliferated since then. Like a lot of teams at least do some form of these advanced statistics to kind of help their rosters. So it's really changed the game in a radical way. But it's interesting to kind of see this movie version of that. And the thing I think that's most exciting that I mentioned for the purposes of this podcast is that, since Billy Beane joined Oakland at the time, Oakland still hasn't won any they haven't won a World Series. They haven't actually made any World Series appearances in there, but they kind of succeeded in spite of the odds. And the movie kind of centers around like one particular storyline being they reel off this 20-game winning streak, which at the time set an American League record. Now, since then, 2017, Cleveland set a 22-game winning streak, which, that's fucking crazy. That's ridiculous, whatever. But this season, Oakland went on a winning streak that ended, unfortunately, at 13 games. But it started, I think, after we watched Moneyball. So they went on this huge, long winning streak after we watched Moneyball, and it was just it was very entertaining to kind of watch it follow, and it just felt like we had a little bit of a hand in that. So unfortunately, they didn't break any records this time, but they're sitting in first place of the American League West, which I'm not sure if this is accurate as of today, but someone posted a fun fact that it's the first time since the Houston Astros joined the American League West Division where the initials, the logos of all the teams spell out the word asshat. In order. So there used to be 4 teams in the division, then the Astros joined, and now there's 5. So as of when that person made that post. It was the A's in first place, AS, followed by the Seattle Mariners with their S, followed by the Houston Astros, then the wait, no, I don't know who else is in that division. Shit, now I'm putting you on the spot. I think yes, I think A would have been the Angels, and then T would have been the Texas Rangers. Okay, I did get it. It just took me a minute, but I got there. So anyway, asshat, American League West. Good for them. That's what I would say about that. Moneyball is great. Highly recommend it. Don't watch it on IMDb TV if you don't have to, but it's a good film. Check it out. I also watched a couple of like Oscar involved films, I guess I'll say. The first one is One Night in Miami. Was not actually nominated for Best Picture, but Leslie Odom Jr. Was in the film. He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. You likely know Leslie Odom Jr. as Aaron Burr from Hamilton.
Yes.
And he was fantastic in it. It was actually a really good film. It's on Amazon. I'm not sure if you know anything about it, but basically it's the story of one night in Miami, appropriately so, where the likes of Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Cassius Clay, later known as Muhammad Ali, end up in the same hotel room with... They end up in a hotel room with Jim Brown as well. So, four iconic black people basically at this one point after Muhammad Ali wins like the title, like a prize fight, and basically just kind of, dealing with, their kind of roles in, how they're influencing the black communities and how they're engaging with them and how they're pushing back against racism and systemic racism and succeeding in their own kind of little avenues. Obviously, one's a hugely successful boxing champion, one's a successful football running back, one's a successful musician, and Malcolm X obviously is a successful activist. So and it's kind of about their interactions. It's based off of an event that actually happened, but it's a fictionalized account of it, so all the dialogue and stuff is kind of made up. It's based off of a play, and it was actually directed by Regina King, who is typically an actor. She was fantastic in Watchmen, and If Beale Street Could Talk. But it was very good. It was just a really, really kind of powerful film. It was interesting to watch. Not too long. So I highly recommend it. It's another one on Amazon. Leslie Odom Jr. was great in it. He didn't win the Oscar for it. Unfortunately, going up against the likes of Daniel Kaluuya is going to do you in, unsurprisingly. But yeah, it was really, really good. And the final film that I watched, the other film that I watched when I made a trek to the theater to watch Mortal Kombat was The Father, which stars Anthony Hopkins as an older man who is, I guess experiencing dementia. I guess it's not really a spoiler to say. And it also stars Olivia Colman, and a few other good actors in it. Rufus Sewell, Mark Gatiss. It's the film that Anthony Hopkins won the Best Actor award for, and he's fucking incredible in it. It's a film that kind of surprised me for in many ways. I didn't know a whole lot about it. I knew it was nominated for Best Picture. I knew it had a few other Oscar nominations up its sleeve as well. So I wanted to watch it for the sake of being a completionist and kind of seeing all the films that were nominated for Best Picture. But I do think it's probably one of the best films I've seen this year. Wow. So I highly, highly recommend it. It's a tough watch. It's not an uplifting film. It's not a happy film. It's a really, really, tough watch of someone kind of, losing their grasp on reality because of this disease, this disease that they're experiencing. And so it's hard to watch in many ways, but it's a film that, another one, like One Night in Miami, like Ma Rainey, it's based off a play, but it does a really, really great job of adapting it to the film medium, where the production design is just incredible, where most of it takes place in like this one kind of central setting, but the setting itself kind of shifts around. Like, there's like 3 different like settings that it's based off of, and sometimes you can't tell which one you're in. You have to kind of look around in your surroundings, and they kind of change, and depending on how it moves the camera, it might go into a different version of it. I don't know, it's kind of hard to explain, but if you've seen the film, it kind of makes sense, and I'm being kind of vague and generic about it, so I don't really want to spoil like the biggest plot elements around it. But it's really it's an incredible piece of filmmaking, and it was made by a first-time film director, which kind of blew me away. But I think why it was as successfully made as it was is because even though it was a first-time film director, it was directed by the man who wrote the original play.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Like a few years ago, and he's a French guy. The original play's in French. It doesn't involve Anthony Hopkins or any of the actors here. But obviously sometime, years after writing the play, he turns around and makes this kind of American, well, it's not, I keep saying it's an American version of it. It's a British version of it. It's a lot of British actors, and it's set in London. So it's English speaking is what I would say. It's not American. But to kind of turn around and make this sort of adaptation was just really, really awesome. So it did win for Best Adapted Screenplay. And then Anthony Hopkins won for best, for best actor in a leading role. And it's tough to say because Chadwick was obviously brilliant, and it really sucks that because Anthony Hopkins won, you don't have an opportunity to give Chadwick Boseman an Oscar that he arguably deserves. But goddamn, like Chadwick was so good in Get On Up as James Brown, and he wasn't even nominated for that. And it just feels like they just took a lot of shit for granted with him. And so It is kind of too little too late. But it was a really, really incredible acting performance from Anthony Hopkins. So like, I think you'll probably see a lot of upset that Chadwick didn't win. And the way that they finished that Oscar ceremony clearly was designed to celebrate Chadwick winning and trying to celebrate his legacy, and it backfired in a huge, huge way. But it sucks because not only does, Chadwick, not getting that sort of respect after his death, his family doesn't, get to, celebrate his legacy with his final film role. You're now going to turn around and have people shitting on the father without seeing it, probably because like, how could this film win? How could Anthony Hopkins couldn't be better? And it's like, it really sucks because it diminishes, I think, the impact of his role. And I think people are going to watch the father and think, this wasn't that good, because they're going to be opposed to it because of the circumstances, and that's unfortunate. So I'm glad that I saw it before the Oscars happened, because it's one of those things where I'm like, I really hate how this went down, but I can't argue with, I'm like almost anyone in that acting category could have won, and I've been like, yeah, depending on who voted and, on whatever day it was, like, that could have been anyone. Could have been anyone that came out of that category. So, anyway, The Father's great. It brought Anna to tears in a big, big way. It reminded her of her grandfather who passed away fairly recently. So it's a film that, for anyone that has had any experience with dealing with, maybe some older family members, grandparents that have dealt with memory issues and stuff like that, it can hit close to home, and I think that it can be really powerful and, in a good way of obviously making you feel emotional, but, it can be a tough watch, is what I would warn people.
So what you're saying is I'll probably weep.
I think that it's a film that you will weep in watching. I would be surprised if you didn't. Yeah. So anyway, I recommend The Father. It's on video on demand, so you can spend the $20 and watch it that way. I think it'll be on Blu-ray in a month or two. So however you get a chance to watch it, whenever you get a chance to watch it, I would urge you to do so. I think you'll find it a rewarding film, even if it's a difficult watch overall. So the last two things, more West Wing, of course. That's how I roll. The only thing that I'll say about West Wing, I'm in the midst of watching season 7. They did a debate episode between the two hopeful presidential candidates that they're building up in season 7. And the way they did it is really cool. Sometimes TV shows do they do like a live version. I feel like 30 Rock did it at one point a little while back. What they did was, for both the East Coast and the West Coast, they filmed just live debates between two actors, basically. Obviously it was scripted to a certain extent, but they were kind of allowed to, go off script and do their own performance. But it was basically just two fictional presidential candidates squaring off in a 45-minute long debate. Just kind of, do your own thing, act your pants off, in a sort of way. And it was really fucking cool to see how they did that and how convincing both of them were. It's a more civil debate than the likes that you've seen in the past handful of years, obviously. It's the West Wing. It's an idealized political landscape where Republicans and Democrats get along, go figure. But it was good. It was really cool to see that. So that's kind of been the high point of West Wing recently. And the last but not least, I talked about it earlier, but I've been playing some Castlevania games. I beat Castlevania, the original one for the NES.
Nice.
Never played it before. It was cool. I think it's a game that if I had played it back in the day, I certainly would have been too young to beat it and probably even get past the first level. It's a game that even now is still challenging. It's got some bullshit level design, but fortunately the Anniversary Collection allows you to use save states, so you can kind of,
pick up where you left off. You don't
make it a little bit more feasible to get through it. So with that in mind, I was able to get through it at a fairly decent clip, and so it was a cool game. Cool to see the origins of Castlevania. So I'm partially the way through playing the second game, so I'll talk about that when I finish it at some point. But yeah, that's it. Probably been rambling for too long, so let's go ahead and wrap it up there. What do you say?
Sounds like a plan, man.
All right. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you want to support us on Patreon by heading to patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat, that would be good for getting you early access to all of our regular episodes, as well as timed exclusive access to our bonus episodes that will come back at some point this year. No goodies for the Patreon listeners this time. I think we had a trend of things happening like my window attacking me or Andrew freezing on the Patreon episodes, but no such luck on this one. So I know it's not a great selling point that I'm spitting out right now, but hey, if you want to listen to it early, that's a good enough selling point in my eyes. So support us on Patreon if you please. Our website is watchreviewrepeat.com. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we are at WRRPod. And if you want to like our page on Facebook, just search for Watch Review Repeat. Get some goodies that way. Get some information on what we've been up to that way. Questions, comments, suggestions. Want to be on a future edition of the Listener's Corner and send some thoughts on Mortal Kombat, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Invincible, anything you've been up to. Please send your thoughts our way. Shadow and Bone, it's up on Netflix. Maybe you stopped and watched the whole series and came back. watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. So send us some thoughts and we'll talk about them on air. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And I do believe our next episode will in fact be on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. All 6 episodes have aired. I believe Andrew and I have seen them all, and I think that we'll be talking about them before long. So certainly you can look forward to our coverage of that, a fuller conversation of that, beyond what we've talked about on this episode and a couple other episodes before that. So with that in mind, I guess I'll just let Andrew take us out.
Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.